I'm going to call the February 10th, 2026 Town Council meeting to order at 7:05 p.m. If you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So that brings us to item 4 on our agenda, which is proclamations and presentations, of which we have one tonight. So I will read the proclamation for Black History Month. Whereas the town of Tolland celebrates the cultural, spiritual, economic, and political contributions made by the Black community to the town, state, nation, and world. And whereas this nation was founded upon and is guided by a set of principles that includes every person has been created equal, and that each has their rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and that each shall be accorded to the fullest protection of law, and acknowledges the challenges, injustices, and oppression faced by Black citizens in this community, state, nation, and world, and that we must actively work to eliminate these challenges, injustices, and oppression. And whereas it was through surviving inhuman conditions, discrimination, centuries of struggle, and prolonged hardship rooted in slavery, which serves a blight on our nation's great history, that Black citizens have overcome and claimed these rights so long overdue. And whereas in 1976, President Gerald Ford first recognized the entire month of February as Black History Month, an occasion to rediscover the enduring stories of Black Americans, their struggles through slavery and prejudice, their perseverance and battles for freedom and equality, and the gifts of freedom, purpose, and opportunity they have bestowed on future generations. And whereas Black History Month is a time to commemorate the incredible cultural, scientific, political, and economic contributions of Black Americans, whose examples of heroism, patriotism, and enterprise have given people of all backgrounds confidence, courage, and faith to pursue their own dreams. And whereas we as a community must face and learn from the past injustices of slavery and prejudice, built on the past, and support and protect the rights of the Black American community, and in doing so, work together to build a better and more prosperous future for all town residents. Now, therefore, I, Chris Moran, Chair of the Tolland Town Council, on behalf of the Town Council and community at large, am proud to honor and celebrate the contributions of Black individuals, families, and businesses, past, present, and future, and welcome Black residents to the town and proclaim February 2026 as Black History Month, dated at Tolland, Connecticut, this 10th day of February 2026. Thank you. So that brings us to item 5 on our agenda, which is public petitions, communications, and public participation. I'll just remind folks that there's a 3-minute limit to this first public participation, and it just must be within any topic within the jurisdiction of the council. So if you'd like to speak, I'll start in the room. Please raise your hand, and you can come up to the table if possible, or if it's easier to stay in your position, that's fine. And just a reminder to state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
I'm Bill Byers. I'd like to draw your attention to what I have in my hand. I would like to refer you to the strike of bread and roses in 1912, January through March in Lawrence, Massachusetts, where those persons who were owners of mills tried to unseat the women who belonged to work in there. So the women rose up in protest. I have here a loaf of bread that I offer. The person of the loaf of bread is for life itself. The roses for the quality of life. Interesting that in this Pledge of Allegiance, we were spoke to indivisible. It's not divisible. And so those women got up for the quality of life and for the staff of life. And I offer these to the council in memory of that event as we go forth with issues in this town. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go online. If you would like to speak online, please raise your Zoom hand and we can ask you to unmute. Seeing none, I'll go back to the room and I'll alternate back and forth this way. The individual in the back, yeah, Heather.
Heather McCann, 62 Crossing Drive. First, I want to thank everyone who served on the council. It's a significant commitment that requires hard work and dedication for the betterment of our community, from children to seniors, covering roads, public services, safety, and more. I stand here today in support of my friends, Mary Rose DeBerrick and Shane Jackson. Both have shown unwavering commitment through their philanthropic activities. Mary Rose DeBerrick, she has dedicated countless hours to the entire community, benefiting everyone from children to seniors. A prime example of her commitment is her work with Boosters, where she leads strategic fundraising efforts that provide financial relief to families and opportunities for students. Additionally, her experience in emergency management would be a great asset to the town council's discussions. She, a lifelong resident, Shane has consistently volunteered and brings valuable accounting experience from her family's businesses that have served Tolland County for decades. Her desire to maintain Tolland's charm while supporting responsible growth that benefits all residents is a true asset to our community. Both women are educated, well-read, and not afraid to ask tough questions. They have proven their ability to collaborate across party lines in relationships, business, and committee work. These two women have not only met the minimum criteria for the appointment, but have far exceeded it. Their willingness to step forward in service to our community deserves our support. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan, if you'd like to speak, please raise your Zoom hand.
Can you see anybody on the second page? Does that work?
Can you just flip to the second page or the first page? First page.
First page?
Okay. Not seeing anyone, I'll go back to the room. Sure.
Katie Stargarter, 8 Lisa Lane. I found my state of Connecticut pen before I came here, and I thought about it on my way here, and it made me think about how proud I am to work for the state, to live in this state. There's a lot of women in Hartford that do really awesome things. A lot of them. And I happen to work in an agency led by a man. But I sat at a table today with men and women who valued my input, who recognized that I'm smart, I'm effective, and I give a great perspective. And I realize that I'm very lucky to have that experience. I'm really lucky every day when I go into work and am valued. And I see that happening all throughout Hartford. It's not perfect. But when I come back to town and see that's not happening in these chambers, I'm beyond disappointed. Misogyny has no place in this room. You guys need to do better.
Thank you. We'll go back online. If you'd like to speak, please raise your Zoom hand. Seeing none, I'll go back to the room.
So, 8 Lisa, or Rebecca Murray, 8 Lisa Lane. I was having a conversation with my mom, just coming back from church.
18 years of age or older?
Go ahead.
Make a comment?
No,
No, absolutely not.
continue, sorry.
Can you reset the time, please, Betty?
So, I was coming from Blue grocery store with my mother, and we were talking about this. Specifically, we were talking about the fact that Counselor Resaw got unanimously appointed to the Board of Education under a town council that was controlled by Democrats. There was no question on credentials. There was no question on anything. But she got appointed quickly and easily. Mary Rose did not get that justice. The town did not get the justice to have another counselor to sit up here and represent us. And sitting here or standing here seeing 5 members of a board that should be 7. And the reason it's not 6 is because of party politics is ridiculous. Because the more people that can represent the town, the better. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go back online. Oh, John's iPad, just a reminder to state your name and address, please.
Hi there. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? No.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, I'm sorry. This is Susan Lusek Hughes, not John Hughes, sorry. Borrowing the iPad for the evening. And I just wanted to
Susie, can you just state your name,
I'm sorry. Address. Yes. Susan Lusek Hughes, 95 Tolland Green. I am here tonight to support the 2 community members being considered for the town council. While I don't know them personally, I was very impressed reading their histories and their bios and the many years they have given to this town already. I think it makes it even more impressive to me that I don't know them. I never have really heard about all the work that they've done, seen any public accolades, recognition. Isn't that what makes a public servant? Someone who is willing to do the work, the tireless, long, and for the most part, thankless work in the background, not paid, not needing a bunch of public recognition, but because they want to help and make a positive impact. Isn't that what it's all about here? And after all that's transpired on social media in this town, they still want to step up. So I think I want to say that that's what I would consider a good candidate for the town council. I applaud you all, and I hope the seating of these 2 exceptional women goes forward without any further delay. Thank you.
Thank you. I will go back to the room.
I'm Susie Byers, 35 Nedweed Road in Tolland, and I've lived in Tolland for 47 years. I'm a registered voter. Kind of appalled that the grievances and personal opinions have interrupted the process of filling the vacant seats on the council. Couple of opinions that I picked up when I was listening to last 2 weeks council meeting. I don't really know Rosemary, but I hear she's hard to work with. She doesn't like me on Facebook. She's too involved in the Board of Education. How can you be too involved in the Board of Education? Why wouldn't you want someone to be? These are 2 smart, educated women willing to work for Tolland with a little praise and a lot of demeaning comments on Facebook. Opinions are not part of this process, but just the facts, madam, just the facts. The charter demands the vacancies on TC be filled in 30 days with persons of the same political party and be a registered voter. These women are that plus much, much more. The Democratic Committee did their due diligence and selected exceedingly great candidates. This should be resolved now. The obstruction should go away, and let's get it done tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go back online. If you'd like to speak, please raise your Zoom hand. Seeing none, I'll go back to the room. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Catherine Henriksen, 192 Goose Lane. I'm going to start by urging all the sitting members of the town council to vote today to seat Mary Rose DeBarrick and Shane Jackson. These two town residents are well-qualified volunteers who are willing to step forward and to offer their time, their energy, and their very considerable skills to the town of Tolland. Serving on the town council is a pretty thankless job, and I want to thank Shane and Mary Rose for offering to do that job for us. Their names have been put forward under the terms of our town charter, and now it is the job of this town council to seat them, and this is not a political question. When I heard that Mrs. DeBarrick's candidacy to fill a vacant seat was rejected at the previous town council meeting, I decided to watch the video of that meeting, and I was astounded at the specious arguments offered by Councillor Shea and to a lesser extent by Councillor Besaw at that meeting. And all these arguments were very politely stated, but what it amounts to is, one, we want to exercise our veto power to choose people we think we can work with, and there is no such requirement in the charter. Two, we don't want to give up our temporary position of power, so we'll just vote no on Mrs. DeBarrick. Three, Mrs. DeBarrick is too much in favor of education. And four, she was mean to me on social media, seriously. And what I see here is people who are gaming the process to grasp at power that the voters did not give you in the November election. I went back and I checked the vote counts from November. Councillor Wells, the sitting Democrat with the lowest vote count, received 2,287 votes. Councillor Shea, the sitting Republican with the highest vote count, received 1,792 votes. And that's a difference of 495 votes, and that's a huge vote margin in a small town election. You always hear the saying, all politics is local. And here we are, unfortunately, seeing this right in Tolland. The dishonesty and the grasping for power are out in the open for everyone to see. As politely as I can, I will say, prove me wrong. Follow the charter and get back to work for the town of Tolland.
Thank you. Liz Costa, if you could ask Liz to unmute.
Hello, Liz Costa, 54 Josiah Lane. Politics aside, you couldn't ask for better qualified candidates than Mary Rose DeBarrick to serve our town. Her years of leadership, institutional knowledge, and steady presence, especially during difficult budget seasons, are exactly what Tolland needs right now. Likewise, Shane Jackson brings commitment, integrity, and a clear willingness to serve. The town charter is clear, and the process has played out. Due diligence has been done. These candidates exceed the qualifications required, and continuing to delay their appointments serves no purpose other than political gamesmanship. This situation was created by a current counselors, and at this point, the delay is a choice. It's one our community can't afford. As we head into a complex and demanding budget season, veteran leadership matters, stability matters, getting back to governing matters. I stand in solidarity with both these candidates and strongly oppose the slander and undermining of at least one of these candidates who have consistently poured into our community through service and volunteerism. Please support these two candidates.
Thank you. I will go back to the room.
Kate Howard Better, 103 Goose Lane. I happen to be 50 years old, and I do also know that the town council and the other boards would never, ever silence young folks who want to have an interest in their town. That's that aside. I would like to just ask the town council to do their due diligence and appoint these highly capable women to these positions so that y'all can get down to business. That's all I'm asking. I hope you make the right choice tonight.
Thank you. Online, if you'd like, Kate Vallow.
All right. Hello there. Kate Vallow, 80 Tolland Green. I am speaking in strong support of seeing both volunteers ready to be appointed to the town council this evening. And I'm asking for every currently seated town council member to demonstrate your willingness to collaborate and readiness to get back to work for the town by coming together in a unanimous affirmative vote. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll go back to the room.
Monique Mead, 31 Servants Road, Tolland, Connecticut. I'm actually going to speak about the speeding cameras that are being brought up this evening. My concerns are in great deal of pervasive surveillance on the potential misuse and data collected by these systems. The primary purpose of the cameras is to generate revenue rather than to improve safety, especially given the high volume of citations in certain areas. It's a disproportionate impact. There are concerns that speeding cameras associated with fines disproportionately affect low-income and minority communities. Due to the process and identification issues, the tickets are sent to the registered owner of the vehicle, not necessarily the driver of the vehicle, forcing the owner to prove that they were not driving during the incident, which can be very problematic for people if they weren't at a specific location with someone to vouch for their whereabouts at the time. There have been reports that have indicated that the cameras may have technical issues, such as losing connectivity or producing inaccurate readings, leading to improperly issued citations in general. It has limited impact on drivers' behavior, and it can be argued that they may slow down just for the camera and speed up right afterward, or that the cameras create traffic hazards by causing sudden braking when people realize when they're in the area. Unlike traffic stops, cameras do not allow for the discretion of our officers who are trained to know whether or not this is an incident worth actually ticketing. Issuing tickets for minor infractions that an officer may actually choose to ignore and or not pursue based on the situation at their discretion. It should be officers that patrol our streets, not cameras. And I'm concerned about where and what the information is that is collected and where it is going to be going. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to, just so that everyone knows, so this will be the first night that we're going to have like sort of a presentation about the speed cameras. There will definitely be a public hearing before any decisions the council would make with respect to the speed cameras. So I just want everyone to know that they will have that opportunity. You're obviously welcome to make those comments tonight as well, but there will be opportunity for continued dialogue. No decisions will be made tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Of course, I'll go back online. Not seeing any, I'll go back to the room. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Kim Pandiani, 13 Summit Drive. I've been following the recent events surrounding the current vacancies on the town council, and this is what I'd like to say about the moment that we find ourselves in. The Democrats have put forth 2 exceptional women who meet the qualifications required by the town charter. They are registered voters and they're Democrats filling empty Democratic seats. That's it. That's all that's required. However, they both bring a wealth of knowledge, experience, and community commitment to the position that is far beyond the basic requirements. You don't get to pick and choose the candidates by what they wear or their beliefs. These women have a long history of supporting this community in a multitude of ways. We should all be grateful that individuals as intelligent, generous, and community-minded as these women are have stepped up to work for our community. Honestly, I think it's ridiculous that we find ourselves in this moment given the candidates that we have available to us. The filling of these vacancies is an administrative action, not a political action. Given the clarity of the charter and the candidates put forth, it's clear this matter can easily be closed in accordance with the town charter tonight. And I, for one, expect each of you to fulfill your professional responsibility as laid out by the charter and vote these women into their seats and then get to work together.
Thank you. If you'd like to speak, please raise your Zoom hand. Seeing none, I'll go back to the room. Yes, Mr.
I'm Philip Dooley, 192 Goose Lane. Been in Tolland for 45 years now. And I'm urging all sitting members of the town council to vote today to seat Mary Rose Dubeck and Shane Jackson. I do not want to see in Tolland the extreme anti-voter actions I see in Washington, D.C. Also keep in mind, the most important long-term action you can do is to reduce our fossil fuel use, to reduce global warming that is already affecting our economy in the negative direction. And there is zero science that has been found contrary to this. Thank you.
Thank you. I will go back online. If you'd like to speak online, please raise your Zoom hand. Seeing none, I'll go back to the room. Yes, ma'am.
Can I sit?
Absolutely.
Lori Ann Nelson, 206 Anderson Road.
Please stand.
Sure. Lori Ann Nelson, 206 Anderson from Tolland. Sorry. I have two statements to make very quickly. I know I have 3 minutes. First of all, I want to thank Council Member Bissaw and Shea for not making their decisions hasty in choosing the women that were going to take the vacancies. Excuse me. They both adhered to the charter and their votes were not vengeful. I know both of them, neither of them would have been like that. The people of Tolland need to feel heard and represented. The Republican Town Committee released a statement regarding this matter, and it can be found on the many social media accounts Tolland has. What it did was think of the people of Tolland that their voice is supposed to be for. It wasn't a vengeful vote. We'll just put it that way. So comments made acting as though they were choosing this because they were women. There's how many women on the board? It's ridiculous. But my second statement, my voice will hold up. So sorry, I can't get to it. Oh no. Time is up. I can't get it. Oh, I can't get it to come up. Can I see? I can do it at the end. I
Sure.
can't get
Yeah.
my notes. All right, thank you.
Thank you. I will go back online. Laura.
Hi, my name is Laura Casenti. I live at 55 Hilltop Road in Tolland. And I just want to counter what was said there, what was just spoken. The town charter is very clear and it is not being followed. There were two candidates who were put forth who are Democrats. The seats need to be Democratic. The town voted. The numbers were just presented to you. You are disenfranchising voters by taking away our choices. If you look at the straight numbers, it is right there. I happen to be a longtime resident of Tolland. I grew up here. I moved away for a little bit and I came back. I grew up with Shane Jackson, and I can't think of a better person to fill this seat. Say that she's not qualified to put up your protest votes. You are not following the law, the rule, and you are not putting qualified people in the position because you're posturing. And that's plain and simple. You could twist words however you want, but that is exactly what is happening. And when somebody posts the picture of a woman's chest online because of a t-shirt she's wearing, that to me is very clearly misogynistic. It was not appreciated. And I don't know why people haven't spoken out against that too. So again, please do the right thing. Put Mary Rose and Shane in the position that they were nominated for. Let's follow the town charter and listen to the voices of Tolland. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go back to the room. Do you want to finish your other minute and a half? Yeah, you have a minute and a half before.
Lori Ann Nelson, 206 Anderson Road. This is a completely separate topic. But for the record, I'd like to note my support for the statement made 2 weeks ago here in the chambers by Republican Town Committee Chair Lisa Burns.
regarding an interaction that occurred on election night, which I personally witnessed. At that time, we had walked from Maria's Diner to the spot where members of the Democratic Party were gathering for the purpose of us offering congratulations on their election results. While standing beside Ms. Burns, I observed Jennifer Buckler. I can say names, correct? Is that correct? I observed Jennifer Buckler, who has since resigned from the council, yelling towards Ms. Burns and lunging towards her. Based on my direct observation, the interaction became confrontational and created a tense environment within the room. As the situation continued, 2 individuals present escorted Jen to another area of the room where she continued yelling. Additional individuals present who witnessed the interaction included John Graney, Chris Moran, and Krista Menes. As new members prepare to join the council, I hope all elected officials will continue to work together in a respectful and professional manner in service to the residents of Tolland. Regardless of party affiliation, public officials share a responsibility to maintain professionalism and model respectful civic conduct. Including factual accounts of public interactions in the record supports transparency and helps maintain the standards expected by the community. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go back online. Tony? Tony, if you can unmute yourself.
Hey, I'm sorry. Tony Moore, 42 Center Road. I just wanted to voice my support for both Mary Rose and Shane. I hope they are both voted in tonight so they can roll up their sleeves and get to work. On a personal note, I just wanted to say I feel really lucky to know Mary Rose and call her a friend. I admire that she continues to show up despite the outrageous attacks seen on social media. I know she can't see all of them because she's not on all the boards. That in itself speaks volumes of her character. So I hope tonight the council puts politics aside so everyone can get to work for the betterment of our awesome town. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I will go back to the room.
How do I mute?
Yeah, is that okay? Oh, yes.
Do I have to come up? Or
If you could project your voice, you can stay there, whatever you prefer.
Okay, I'm Angie Seth. I am at 8 Nedweed Road. I do not know either of the 2 Democratic potential appointees, but I'm here in full support of them because of process. We are a nation of laws. We have a charter. I urge you all, regardless of politics, to implement the rules of the charter, and let's get this done tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Back online. If you're online and you'd like to speak, please raise your Zoom hand. Seeing none, I'll go back to the room. Seeing none, I'll go back online. Final call for the room. Final call online. If you'd like to speak, please raise your Zoom hand. Seeing none, we will open up public petitions and move on to agenda item 6, which is public hearing items, of which we have none tonight, which brings us to 7A, reports of boards and committees responsible to the council. Councilor Beebe, do you want to anything on the firehouse subcommittee?
No, we are meeting for next week. It's been canceled. We're still sort of in a holding pattern, so I expect us to move forward in March.
Okay, thank you. I know agenda item 8.7, we'll have a discussion on the wells, so there won't be anything from the Italian Wells Task Force that we need to discuss now. Brian, is there anything else I'm not thinking of?
No, the Megan's been really busy, so the firehouse subcommittee stuff has just been pushed out a little bit. We could have met, but
sure. Thank you. So that brings us to 7B, which is reports of town council liaisons. So I'll just sort of run through to see if anybody has updates. Councilor Beebe, I'll just start with you.
Planning zoning was last night, but I was here last night.
Right. You had a capital budget public hearing, so you were excused that. So,
I will have a report, Commission on, Persons with Disabilities is, next week or is this coming week? A week from today. So I'll have a report for you in the next town council meeting.
thank you. Councilor Wells, any updates?
EDC met on the 4th. There were a few topic items. Bringing commerce back into town has really been a hot topic item. Some of the empty commercial real estate they've been focusing on, the old gym spot, the pads in front of Big Y, trying to attract either some med spas or some other high-end gyms on that 195 corridor. The only other topic was there's some sale of some land. And there's two competing businesses in town that are vying for the land. One of them is more high end and one of them is more of a growing business. So there's going to be a recommendation coming at some point from EDC on what to do with that piece of parcel. But that's into that. That's about it.
Chair, that we requested EDC to make a decision on that based on the rule that we had made last year, where council has the right to decide on how we're going to sell the property, rather than make that type of decision on your own without guidance. We need an EDC, and it's a small piece of property, not worth a whole lot of bucks either, but we felt it was important for EDC to provide that recommendation.
Thank you. And this is town-owned property?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So yeah, so the if I'm understanding right, the EDC will come up, the recommendation will come to council, and we'll have the opportunity to discuss. That's my understanding. Okay, thank you. Councilor Bisson, any updates?
No, the Conservation Commission Committee is meeting on Thursday, and veterans have not met since our last meeting.
Thank you. Councilor Shea, any updates on your end?
No.
Okay. And the only thing I have is that the Historic District Commission canceled their February 18th meeting. And I don't have any further updates. So that brings us to item 8, new business, in agenda item 8.1, which is the appointment of 2 members to the town council. I'll just, set the stage a little bit and then we can proceed from there. Obviously, as everyone's noted, we have 2 candidates endorsed by the TDTC to fill the vacancies before us tonight. You can find the supporting documentation in your packets. Both nominees or individuals who are recommended are eminently qualified and would be a huge asset to the town. Mary Rose has volunteered for years in our schools and has a background in emergency management. Shane is a lifelong Tolland resident. Her background in communication and running a family business will serve her well on the council. Both have expressed a sincere desire to work with all members of the council for the good of all Tolland residents, as we all must do. Most importantly, our charter mandated task gives us a particular role in the process, a process that's been followed by both Democrats and Republicans for many years. We determine if the individuals who are nominated, they were nominated by the appropriate committee. Are they Tolland registered voters? And both of the nominees before us meet those requirements. There hasn't ever been a litmus test or consideration of whether councilors agree or disagree with the viewpoints of candidates. And that's for good reason. It would turn every vacancy into a political battle that focuses on politics rather than the people of our town. As I said last time, we have an obligation on the council to comply with the charter to ensure we don't expose the town to any liability. I strongly support seeing both candidates tonight, and thank all of the councilors for their consideration and for folks coming out. So with that, I would entertain a motion to appoint. I think the right way to approach this is to do these in 2 separate motions since there were 2 separate resignations. So I'll entertain a motion to appoint Mary Rose DeBarrett to fill the vacancy on town council created by former Councilor Grady's resignation.
So
moved by Councilor Beatty. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Wells. Again, because we are hybrid tonight, it's a roll call vote, but I should know, is there any discussion on this before I go to a vote?
I would like to say something. Before I cast my vote, I would like to make a couple things clear. My vote will not be made because of the pressure and false statements made online during and since the last meeting. There have been multiple allegations, both online and in person, against me that my previous vote went against the charter, was not mandated by the charter, was a delay tactic, was a made-up reason, is or was obstruction in some way. All of these statements are categorically false. I am committed to upholding the charter, and as stated, I wanted to see who the second appointee was before casting my vote. I never questioned the credentials of the appointees at any time. My hope is that the appointees will in fact endeavor to work across the aisle as they have stated, and that the town as a whole will be prioritized, including those who may have limited resources.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, Councilor Beatty.
Yeah, I think after our last meeting, first of all, I wanted to apologize to Mary Rose DeBerrick for not defending her more vigorously against what was unfortunately innuendo on my colleague's part with respect to, I heard from people that she doesn't work well with others because there were no dates, there were no people, there were no numbers, there was just innuendo. And that's not acceptable. That happens to us every single day in the workplace. And for me to fall down in my job and not defend that after spending 40 plus years in the construction industry was unfortunate, and I apologize for not pushing back harder on that. That said, subsequent to that, I happened to run into a former colleague, Claudette Morehouse in the bank. We had a great conversation, and it reminded me, even though she and I are as far apart politically as you could probably be, and even though we may wear different types of clothing that state different political opinions, that we worked really well together. We rarely had a major disagreement collaborating on zoning board of appeals. So I think that shows that what somebody's thought process, somebody's political beliefs, religious beliefs, whatever have you, does not preclude them being effective and should not be used as judgment. I would happily work with Claudette again on a commission because of our previous relationship. So I think if I can say that, if we can do that, I think there's no reason for us not to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Shea.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to speak more off the cuff than Rini did because I'm frankly surprised and irritated, I guess at the same time, at the negativity and sort of the attacks by many people of the town because we don't necessarily agree with them. And it almost seems like the process, people are angered by the process, right? Because we have a process dictated by the charter that says, the TDTC chooses these individuals. And it's not a dictatorship here. It's not like we just say, okay, the TDT chose them, so therefore they're in with no questions asked. There's a voting process. And the reason that there's a voting process is because people's opinions matter. And it seems like we want to just bypass that completely and just go with whoever the hell people decide should go into this process, which again bypasses the process. And just because people don't like our opinions doesn't mean we should be attacked. There should be false accusations made about us that Rini has pointed out that have been made just because you don't like it. Too bad. This is a process. We go through this process. We had significant concerns that we raised when this first individual was presented. We wanted to see two candidates because we have concerns about the people we worked with. These past 2 years have been hell. I know a few of you haven't been on the town council, but you've seen what happens. Maybe you guys saw the meetings. It hasn't been a pleasant 2 years. It has been a horrific 2 years dealing with the things we've had to deal with back and forth. And we don't want to see that going forward. So therefore, it's an opportunity. And we would be very remiss in our obligations as town council member not to take this opportunity to really try to understand who it is we're going to be working with as time goes on. So I did this 10 years ago, and I can tell you it is night and day between being on town council 10 years ago and town council now. I mean, the brutal attacks from both sides in this town have become almost uncontrollable. And I question why anyone in their right mind would want to join town council because of how bad it has become. So to these two people that are coming into the lion's pit, good luck, because it is not fun. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fitch. Is there any other discussion? Councilor Wells.
So first of all, to all the residents that came up tonight, thank you, no matter what your perspective is. We have an obligation here to run this town, but to represent each and every one of you. There was a lot of talk about votes, vote counts, party lines, party politics. I can tell you my own personal lens is that regardless of the voters that implemented me into this seat, I feel I have an obligation, even if you didn't vote for me. I have an obligation to earn your vote, to show you that I'm making the right decisions, that we're collaborating and doing the right things in town for everybody. So to each and every counselor tonight that's going to cast the vote for tonight and moving forward, I hope you think about each and every individual, whether they're a child in the Board of Ed or they're a senior struggling to pay their bills and trying to figure out how to pay their taxes and how to live in town and buy groceries, okay? That's what we're here for. We're here for everybody in between those two spectrums. A lot of conversation, a lot of rhetoric. Me personally, the Facebook thing, I don't fall into that. Right? I'm more of a face-to-face person and on the record. I've spoken on the record as a resident. Now I'm here as a representative and a councilman. So again, thank you for voicing your opinions. I've heard each and every one of you individually. I've read every one of your emails. A lot of consideration, but we're here for the entire town. So that's the decision that's going to be made tonight, is to represent everybody equally. And I do thank the two people that stepped up. Joe's right. It's a lion's den. He's not wrong. It's very vitriol in this town. Somehow Capitol Hill showed up in Tolland on the green, and it happened overnight like this. And that's what we have today. And it's each and every one of you, plus all of us, to change that. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Wells.
Just to follow up, this is my 30th plus year of being elected to a board. The past couple of years with y'all, or year plus with y'all, hasn't been horrendous. We've had some challenging times. I can say that there were times 20 years ago that were more challenging, that were extremely difficult, but we got through it, and that's the nature of representative democracy. Hopefully we can do better moving forward, but I'm honored to be here, and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
I'll just say, as I've said many times before, proud to stand on my record, right? I think we work best as a council when we work together in a bipartisan way. We hear, various viewpoints, we bring those things to the table. And so again, I'll just, reiterate my support for Mary Rose and for Shane. And unless there's any further discussion, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilor Beebe.
Aye.
Councilor Wells.
Aye.
Councilor Bisla.
Aye.
Councilor Shea.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. So that passes, and Mary Rose DeBarrick is appointed to the council. I know we have the town clerk here tonight to swear in Mary Rose, and should Shane be voted on, I'll move to the second individual before I do that, just for time's sake. So the rule that we have presented for us is Shane Jackson. So I will entertain a motion to appoint Shane Jackson to fill the vacancy created by former Councilor Butler's resignation. So moved. Moved by Councilor Wells, seconded by Councilor Beebe. Is there any discussion? Okay. Roll call vote. So Councilor Beebe.
Aye.
Councilor Wells.
Aye.
Councilor Bisla.
Aye.
Councilor Shea.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. So that passes as well. Individuals, Mary Rose and Shane, to just step forward. The town clerk will swear you in, and you'll be able to participate in the remainder of our meeting tonight.
Yeah, here's fine. Okay. You could please raise your right hands for me. Do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Connecticut, as well as the Charter and ordinances of the Town of Tolland, and to faithfully discharge your duties as a member of the Tolland Town Council to the best of your abilities, so help you God?
I do.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to give you guys these. Shane, and Rose. Those are your town council representative cards. You just keep them with you. And then these just have to be filled in. You can give them to Sarah Beth at the end of the night. She'll give them to me.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night. Thank you.
So I welcome you all. St. Mary Road.
Yeah.
Brett? Look at Brett, thank you. That's Brett.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me just grab my bag.
Okay, take care of the child. Exactly. Have some do
No, I have no idea.
Okay, thank you, everyone, and welcome to Councilor Barrett and Councilor Jackson. It's good to have you back on the council. I'd ask the room to just be quiet so we can continue with the council business. Sorry. If you'd like to have further discussion, just please take it in the hallway. Thank you. Okay, so I'm glad to see, we're back to Council 7, and I welcome Councilor Jackson and Councilor DeBarrett. So that brings us to agenda item 8.2, which is a vote for council vice chair. So now that we have a full council, I think it's important that we fill this leadership position. As I stated at our first meeting, I do strongly believe that a bipartisan leadership team is the best way to lead any town board or commission. I've been fortunate in that I've had some very productive and respectful conversations with Councilor Visa, and she's expressed her desire to collaborate and work together in town, and I certainly share that desire. While we will not always agree on how to address important issues facing our town, it's critical that we on this council set the tone for civil discourse. We can disagree both passionately and respectfully. It does no good for the town if we do it this otherwise. So I believe it is in the best interest of this council and the town that Councilor Visa serve as vice chair. Accordingly, I will entertain a motion to appoint Councilor Visa as the council vice chair.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Wells.
Second.
Seconded by both Mary Rose DeBarrett and Councilor Shea. Is there discussion?
Sure, I'll start. Thank you, first of all, Councilor Visa, for stepping up and being able to continue dialogue and get us to this point this evening. As the chair knows and my colleagues know, I've had very constructive dialogue regarding this situation for quite some time now. I'm personally pleased that we've done this, that this is the right move. So I'm personally pleased that tonight we appointed 2 councilors unanimously as a board, right? So this shows true bipartisanship in front of the residents. Everybody online, everybody sitting here tonight, and that's exactly what the people want, regardless what they are. We're neighbors, we all have the same addresses, right? The same zip code, 06084. So thank you all. Thank you, Councilor Visa. Congratulations. It was my honor to nominate you and make that motion because it's what the residents want and it's what's right. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Councilor Wells. Yes.
Actually, I appreciate being here and being elected. And I wanted to say that I did not have an opportunity at that last meeting to share what my motivation was and what my qualifications were. And I think it would be great if you had an opportunity to share that, why you want to be vice chair, and let us know so we have a good educated vote.
Okay. I think there's been I think we did talk about this a little bit at the first meeting, but there's been a history of a shared bipartisan leadership on the town council. It makes communication more effective. It allows for both parties to have a little bit more of an equal footing, if you will, in terms of agenda and so forth. Obviously, the chair does make the final decisions. We have had some productive conversations. I feel like I could be an asset. I have been on the Board of Education in Tolland for 4 years. I was on the Board of Education in Colchester for 4 years. I chair of the Board of Education in Colchester. I've been the vice chair of the RTC. I'm pretty well versed at kind of how government can work, good and bad, and hopefully I can help make us work together. That is really my goal, and I feel like Councilor Moran and I had a good conversation about that is really the goal here. We are here for the town. We're not here for individual fighting, and I'm not really personally interested in that. And I'm sorry that maybe things went a little astray the last couple of weeks, but that was never my intent. So,
thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, I'll just say, well, I'll do the roll call vote. Councilor Reed.
I'm sorry. Aye.
Councilor Wells. Aye. Councilor Jackson.
Aye.
Councilor DeBerrick.
Aye.
Councilor Bisa.
Aye.
Okay. Councilor Shea.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, so that is unanimous. Councilor Bisa is the vice chair of the council, so congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And what I was going to say, and I just wanted to wait till we had passed this rate, is that it is, genuinely my hope that we will disagree, like it's inevitable, right? But that we'll do it respectfully, right? Like I've said this before, I do think that everyone who serves on the council does it because they want to do what's in the best interest of the town, right? And we're not always going to agree what that is or how to get there. But if we can remind ourselves of that common goal, that common purpose, right? I think we can, be respectful. We're all volunteers, and let's hope that I'd like for us to set the tone for civil discourse that we can carry out into the town. So congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that brings us to agenda item 8.3, the automated speed enforcement presentation and discussion. I want to thank the presenters that are here for sort of waiting through a longer beginning of our meeting. So Tom Manager Foley.
Okay, thank you so much. So this is going to be a presentation from SiteStream and Mr. Andrew Noble in relation to an overview of the automated traffic enforcement safety devices. Legislation that allows communities to install speed or red light traffic cameras to reduce accidents and improve public safety. These automated systems have not been installed. There's no plan to install them in our town. And when it does, it will be entirely a decision of town council, not mine. Having a previous career in law enforcement, especially in the city of Hartford, my concerns with traffic cameras with that it's another way to tax our already overburdened residents. Hearing the question or some of the concerns from a citizen tonight, I had those exact concerns as well. Having seen other towns go through the process and successfully install the cameras, and I was intrigued by that. I've been contacted by several companies. One of the greatest complaints we get in town, the greatest criminal complaint we get in town, is traffic issues. Some of the thoughts I had around putting the cameras in, and again, this will be a decision of council, but not mine, but my recommendation would be that it would be on distal state roads. And when I say that, I mean towards the town line on Crystal Lake Road, where we had a recent fatality a couple years ago, and on 195 out towards Coventry, where we also had a fatality, I believe, within the last year or so as well. I would look at those two locations to start modestly. I have no idea how they would go, but as you'll see, there's a lot of testing prior to, so we will actually have some understanding of what to expect through this process. So I give you that. One last thing, seeing there's specific ways that you can spend the revenue generated from the speed cameras. And my recommendation to council would be that we entirely use that money for school safety. Because currently right now we don't have as much school safety. I think we'd all agree on that as we need, and it's entirely a funding issue. So that would be my recommendation. I am entirely neutral on it right now, nor do I have a vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Give Mr. Noble.
And I'll give you two in a second. I just want to reiterate, just for folks watching. So tonight, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for us to learn, and appreciate you so much for coming out to kind of give us this information. So this is just kind of an information gathering presentation at this point for the council, and then this will come up again on the council agenda for discussion. And ultimately, as I mentioned, there would be a public hearing for public input before any decisions were made. So just want to make that clear. So thank you so much for coming out tonight, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Noble. I'm here from Massachusetts. I live just outside of Boston. And I hope it wouldn't be inappropriate to start by saying congratulations to the new councillors this evening. As a spectator at the back of the room there, it's great to see democracy play out live in front of your eyes. So congratulations for this evening. I've been in the photo enforcement industry for almost 21 years now. And this story goes back, if you like, the reason why we're here this evening is because over a period of about 10 years, the state of Connecticut in the State House debated and listened and looked at the information about safety enforcement programs for more than a decade. And finally, in the summer of 2023, Governor Lamont signed into act the bill allowing for automated traffic enforcement safety devices here in Connecticut. Now, photo enforcement isn't actually new to Connecticut because prior to that, Connecticut had legislation allowing for school bus stop arm cameras to go on to school buses to allow for photographs of people driving past school buses with the stop arm out to be prosecuted by the use of civil infraction penalties. So photo enforcement, whilst it sounds like a new topic in Connecticut now, since this ATESD legislation was signed into place 2 years ago, it in fact isn't. And the reason why Connecticut put this legislation into place was the statistics and facts that show over the last many years, the single largest cause of death for people under the age of 30 is traffic-related crashes. More than 37,000 people are killed each year, about 9,000 directly proportional to the speed at which they're driving, an untold cost of lives around them, including the money involved in those crashes as well. So when Connecticut put the legislation into place, prior to that, there were about 25, 26 states that had some sort of photo enforcement legislation around the country. When we think about legislation for enforcement, we typically think about speed cameras, red light running cameras, and of course, school bus stop arm cameras. And that's the case there. So the new legislation brought Connecticut in line with most of the photo enforcement states around the country. Some states allow just for red light cameras. Some states just allow for speed cameras, some for both. Some states legislate for school zone only speed cameras. The Connecticut legislation allows for cameras in an area where safety can be improved, whether it's through a red light camera, intersection camera, or whether it's through a speed camera in a school zone, a pedestrian zone, or anywhere else where safety can be demonstrated to be needed. Now, typically, when we think about being caught speeding, you think about a police officer holding a gun very similar to the one in the photograph there. And in fact, that's where this industry started. Photo enforcement started by a handheld officer, an officer using a handheld radar or laser gun. But these are now equipped with cameras, allowing a photograph to be taken and a citation to be issued to an officer, a violating vehicle, without the officer having to chase them down. Moving on from handheld units, some states allow for portable units, where you would put for a short time only a automated system sitting on a tripod, allowing you to take pictures of speeding vehicles, and again, issue those as a civil infraction, which I'll talk to a bit later. Border enforcement units also come in the form of trailers, and you'll often see these in states such as Maryland being used from one area to another, where there's a lot of high death rates and different types of roads. Moving on from the handheld and the portable, you move to fixed cameras locations, where the cameras are fixed permanently to a road, either for speed enforcement or for red light traffic light enforcement. And these are just a couple of examples of fixed speed cameras you might see around the country in the states that allow them. Here in Connecticut, all cameras have to be fixed. Connecticut legislation doesn't allow for handheld mobile units or portable units. They all have to be fixed into the ground. And predicated before that there has to be a rule and a set of guidelines as where those cameras to go. The governor signed into the law the bill in 2023 in the summer, but it would not be allowed to be used until the DOT, through the Office of State Traffic Authority Administration, put into place some guidelines. They published the guidelines on the 2nd of January 2024. It's a 14-page document which prescribes with an awful lot of detail the methodology by which any community can put into place a red light or speed camera system. For the most part, this document prescribes the recipe on how you must go forwards in a council, how you have to put an ordinance in place, how there has to be a public hearing so members of the community can talk about their feelings about photo enforcement, and the town can put forth why it might want to consider photo enforcement going forwards. Prior to any camera going live in any town, the state has to approve it, every single camera. And the state is only looking for one thing only: safety. Is there a safety need that can be demonstrated by this camera being placed in the location where you as a community want to place it? So as a community, you have to put together a justification report for each individual location of that camera, crash statistics, average daily traffic counts, average daily traffic speeds, crash statistics in the past, road geometry drawings, signage, traffic engineering studies that may have been done in the past, and including in part of that, the public awareness campaigns you may have also run to slow people down or increase safety in your own community. So on creating these justification reports and putting them to the DOT via the Office of State Traffic Administration, the state then essentially has 60 days to look at your reports and to give you an opinion about whether or not you can go forwards. And if it does give you an authority to go forward to that specific location, it asks that you report out to it on an annual basis on how that program is performing. It also asks you to enforce under the uniform rules of the state. So every community in Connecticut will have one set of rules to work to. It also states that every 3 years, you have to reauthorize that camera location to stay. So just because there was a safety need this year doesn't necessarily mean there'll be a safety need in 4 years' time. So you would use the statistics for the first 3 years of the program to drive the decision on whether you want to put that program into place. So typically you look at the 3-year heat map of a city. The state and county officials and other communities have a lot of details of what kind of crashes appear in your community. You take a look at this crash statistics and you dig down deeper into where those crashes might be and where you might have a demonstrated need. And it's not just the crashes themselves, it's the near misses. For every one crash you might have on the road, there's 1,000 near misses that we all witness on our daily route to and from our home or to our workplace. And so a lot of detail goes into these justification reports to OSTA. More than that, the state also demands that some consideration should be given to areas of economic challenge within a community, otherwise called qualified census tracts. So this limits a community from putting no more than 2 cameras in an area where it is described as a qualified census tract as defined by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. And if you have a qualified census tract crossing community lines, then the 2 communities would have to share those two cameras. This stops you from having a community with economic challenged areas being carpet bombed essentially by cameras that are unnecessary. So regardless of what camera you have at the beginning, whether it's a speed camera in a school zone or red light running intersection or speed camera in a pedestrian downtown area, the process for the most part of these cameras is simply the same. The cameras are triggered automatically. They're not taking pictures of every car and vehicle going past. They're not reading license plates of vehicles. They're sitting there quite immune to the environment around them. But each camera contains a highly accurate vehicle speed or red light running detection system, whether it be born from a laser or from a radar. It's able to detect the speed of a vehicle and the behavior of a vehicle. So in the example of a speed camera, state law says that speeding tickets born from these cameras can only be issued to vehicles traveling at 10 miles an hour or more over the speed limit. So if you're doing 8 miles an hour over the speed limit, these cameras will not take a photograph of you. They won't take a photograph of anybody unless they're doing 10 miles an hour or more over the speed limit. If a photograph is taken, the images are offloaded automatically from that camera to a processing center where the camera company is based. A member of that camera company staff would look at the videos of someone running the red light to make sure it wasn't a funeral procession, perhaps, to make sure an emergency vehicle wasn't pushing you through the red light intersection, to make sure it's a real red light violation and the lights change have been successfully sequenced from green to yellow to red. And it's the same thing for a speed camera. Someone is looking at each one of these individual images and videos that are created. The camera is not just spitting out tickets to cars going past it. Once the violation has been verified as being real, the license plate is looked up at the state DMV. And if a vehicle make model match comes back statistically showing a white Ford Explorer, for example, from the DMV, and the photograph or the video shows it's a white Ford Explorer, you have a vehicle make model match. But it's not appropriate for the enforcement company to be sending out those tickets without some sort of say-so from the town. So in each of these tickets, each individual ticket sits in a queue waiting for typically a sworn police officer to look at the same evidence set, to look at the videos, to look at the still images, to make sure it's a vehicle make model match and decide whether to send that notice out or not. Connecticut legislation was the first in the nation to pass a law saying it doesn't have to be a police officer, it can be any other town designee. And it did so because some towns in Connecticut aren't large enough for their own in-house police departments, and resident troopers may not be easy on hand anyway. So some communities are using code enforcement officers, and other cities are using traffic engineering departments to decide it's a civil violation. And that's an important distinction. These are civil violations, they're not criminal citations. No points are assessed against your license. The DMV is not informed of this in any shape or form, and your insurance company can never be informed. In fact, state law explicitly forbids the information to be shared with any party except the express use of issuing these civil infractions for red light running and for speeding. So at this point, in point number 5, a police officer in this example would say, yes, send the ticket. The tickets are mailed in US first class mail to wherever you are in the country, because just because you went through a speed camera in Tolland doesn't mean you live necessarily in Tolland. In fact, statistically, less than 1% of tickets in these programs go to the people that live in the community. The reason being, they know where the cameras are, they've seen the public information materials, and they understand how these programs work. And so wherever you live in the country, that ticket on your doorstep typically arrives 2 or 3 days later after being mailed in US mail first class, invites you to go on to a website to look at your own violation images, your own violation videos, and make a determination what you want to do at that point, whether you want to pay it, or you want to contest it, or you want to transfer the liability to somebody else that may have been driving your car that day. Money is collected for those that want to pay, and that money is typically passed to the city to do with what it wants to do within the confines of the state law, which states that you have to spend the money for transportation safety programs for your community. All of these programs are designed in such a way that there is zero city capital investment, typically zero city operational costs. These are fully violator funded programs with revenue going to the city, and the vendor usually takes some of the revenue to pay for the capital infrastructure they may have had at the beginning of the program. Now, when we think of cameras, we typically think of their iPhone 16 in your pocket, or a Best Buy camera you may have bought some years ago when Best Buy still seemed to be around. Well, these cameras are a lot more complex and a lot more expensive than that. A typical camera to be installed here in Connecticut is about $45,000 to $50,000 for every single camera. You're looking at about a $25,000 hole in the ground and a concrete post by the time you're done with all the permitting, the planning, the permissions, and the building and regulations for here in Connecticut. And your camera sitting on that pole is about another $20,000 to $30,000 as well. So these are extremely highly technical pieces of equipment, which are paid down by the vendor by getting a small piece of the ticket along the way. But none of the revenue from the city is used to have to use any capital costs initially in the beginning. Typical photo enforcement cameras look a lot bigger than your iPhone 16 or that Best Buy camera you may have bought a few years ago. You typically have 1 or 2 cameras. You have infrared flashes or you have white flashes in areas where you need more ambient light at nighttime. And you have a radar underneath the unit or a laser as I said before, tracking the vehicles, doing something that they shouldn't have been doing according to legislation. All data gathered by the cameras can only be used for the purpose of the camera. Now, the DOT guidelines published on the 2nd of January 2024 prescribe in great detail how a program should operate, but there's still some decision-making to be done by the city. How do you feel about late fees? What about a reminder notice for people that didn't pay the ticket on time? How do you want to contest your ticket? So the vendor will work with you to decide to help you make some decisions on how you want to handle those tickets. And again, just like civil infractions like parking tickets, you might hold those contested ticket hearing in your own town hall the way you do with the parking tickets themselves. And again, no points are assessed on your license. Typically, the citations you receive in the mail have language about why you're receiving it. These are civil infractions only. They make that point very clearly that no points are assessed to your license and your insurance company is not notified. They contain photographs of your car doing what it shouldn't have been doing, the date, time, how much you owe, how to pay it, how to transfer liability to somebody else that may have been driving your car that day, or how to contest it. Due process is important. And even though, yes, you are the registered owner of the vehicle, if you lent your car to your brother Jimmy last week and he parked your car illegally and you got a parking ticket, you can give your parking ticket to your brother Jimmy. The same example for a speeding ticket here, civil infraction, red light running or speeding ticket in your town, you can transfer the liability to somebody else. Otherwise, it comes back to you, the vehicle owner, as it would do a parking ticket. If you go onto a website, you get to log in with that unique citation number and PIN number that would have been on the civil infraction you received in the first class mail. You would get to see the videos, as I said before. You get to see the still images, and you get to make a determination of whether to pay contest online. Now, right at the beginning of these slides, I talked about the OSTA reports and the justification at the beginning of putting a camera into place, whatever kind of camera you wanted to have and where it's going to be. The state makes that final determination. And so as part of that, the state wants statistics and reports back from the town. And so these camera programs are designed with their software to create all sorts of dashboards and reports. Elected officials typically want that one-page PDF every month about how the program is doing this month against last month. Is my community safer this January against last January? Is our crashes going down? Are speeds going down? Is the 85th percentile, the average speed of a car, going down? Does my community feel safer? How many tickets are issued? How many were paid? Whereas perhaps the police department want more detailed in reports from that, finance department, even different reports. And just like that, OSTA wants its reports every year about how your program is reporting. So a lot of what goes into putting a program into place on the kind of reports that you want ahead of time. And the customer service is for the people who get a ticket to call into. No one likes receiving these tickets in the mail in the same way no one likes getting a parking ticket and the wiper on their windshield. And so it's important that the program put into place allows an area and a voice to be heard. And so phone centers are set up where you can call in, and the job of that phone center is not to persuade you or dissuade you from taking any particular action, but just to give you options and tell you why you received your ticket, help you to pay it, contest it, or transfer it, whatever you'd like to do. The benefits to the community are very real. And over the last 40 years of photo enforcement being in this country, in one form or another, city after city after city shows typically you get a 30 to 40% reduction in speeding in about 4 to 6 months of a program starting. And those numbers only go down over time. They never go to zero. There's a new driving crop every year of high schoolers getting a car. There are people migrating through your community from where they live in a state that doesn't have cameras, and they don't know that you do. There's new people every year that just don't read the signs and are disconnected from what they're doing. They're distracted and they're driving. They never go to zero. But the reality is you end up with a safer community. You end up with violator funded revenue that you can use as the state dictates for transportation safety initiatives. You end up with something that costs the taxpayers of this community and the council $0. And you end up with a very transparent, auditable program and reporting for the years to come. And that is the end of the presentation. I think happy to take questions from you at any time.
Thank you. Can you just put the other view up so I can see if Councilor Shea is up? Questions from the council?
I have a couple with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you for presenting to us. Just a couple of items, and you did answer some of them. I was gonna ask you the historical percentage change in the safety, because I agree with some of the comments that were said previously, where I don't see this as a driver of revenue. I see this as a driver of safety, right? I think the revenue is not the point here. It's actually, does the community see an enhanced safety feature from this? Because that's what matters here, right? That's really what matters here. So I know these are remotely accessible units, having worked with such things on major highway projects down on I-95, and having them be hacked and coming in the morning to see them saying other things that they weren't supposed to say. I want to know what kind of safeguards you have to prevent these units from being hacked, and also how they protect people's personal data, right? You end up with their data. We know that stuff like this gets misused or hacked or other ways. We want to know how you can keep that, and are you indemnifying that, right? That's important, because a lot of companies will say, well, hacking's a thing, we can't really indemnify you. And then I noticed that even though you said you're not taking a picture of every vehicle, on one of your slides, it does say, 24 of 80, it says that you do detect all passing vehicles. So it's a short jump there from detection to photography. So thank you.
Okay, so taking the first point, the revenue is a byproduct of a program. These are safety programs, first and foremost, and the state underwrites that and punctuates that with a big exclamation mark at the end of the legislation by saying no camera can go in place unless the state can be demonstrated and show it has a safety need. So it is a byproduct. You're absolutely right. Yeah, the message boards being hacked is something we've all seen on the news in one form or another. Not only is data encryption and data accuracy important, it's also punctuated in legislation. We have to be able to prove, any vendor in this industry has to be able to prove, if they say you were doing 47.1 miles an hour, that you were doing 47.1 miles an hour. They have to be able to prove that in a court of law. If they want to show it's your vehicle, they have to prove that the data encryption in their imaging could not have been hacked. And there are all sorts of national standards and law enforcement standards for data protection and data encryption and data access. More than that, the audits that are needed by the state every year go hand in glove with what you're doing with the data. So going back to the point about what else can be done with this data and these photographs, absolutely nothing. You have to keep a photograph only for a period of 1 year, and then it's incumbent upon you as a community to actually erase the photographs. The reason you are asked to keep it for 1 year is because the fine for getting one of these speeding tickets or for running a red light ticket is $50 for your first offense. It is $75 for your second or subsequent offense within a 1 year period. So after 1 year, assuming you haven't been caught again, all the data is expunged from the system. And if you got a second ticket on day 375, for example, clearly into your second year, it would be at the $50 level again and not at the 75. So the data has to be expunged. And if you pay the citation, after a certain amount of time, all of the data associated with that has to be gotten rid of too.
Okay, can I follow up quickly? Okay, so thank you for that. Do you deploy these systems in Europe?
Do I put it in?
Does a company, your company, or similar companies?
Yes.
I guess what I'm getting at is are these systems deployed in Europe, and do they uphold European data safety standards, which are much more stringent than American data safety standards?
They do indeed. In fact, internationally, photo enforcement is a highly regulated government industry at the national level. There are international standards about vehicle tracking technology, speed accuracy, data encryption, image encryption, data retention, and who's allowed access to the information. Those standards don't exist for the most part in this industry in the USA. I will say that there are a lot of vendors in this industry in the USA that do uphold those standards. There have been those international standards here to the US to make sure it's not a watered down version. And so the data encryption and the speed accuracy can be proven in a court of law.
Thank you.
Councilor Wells.
A couple quick ones. One, where is the data housed? I mean, is it just completely cloud-based? Is it server-based? Is it a combination of both? And then where would the location be? Would it be housed here in the town if it's server-based? Is it a server now that the town has to operate and maintain?
So first of all, the data belongs to the town, not the vendor. They can't do anything. It belongs to the town. The data is housed up to any individual vendor on how they do their operation. There's no one size fits all. So they may have local servers at their facility. They may have a cloud-based server farm, or they may use another methodology, but there's no state standard around that.
And then one more, if you wouldn't mind. What's the hierarchy of access to this, right? And controls for accessing this data? We're talking about breaches, and we have to be concerned about breaches, but never mind breaches. How about just access? Who can access this data? How it can be used? I have a very, very concern with access and accessing people's data. So if that could be addressed, that would be.
Yeah, that's an important question. So those controls are put into place right at the beginning of the program. So the public information, your license plate actually is public information. A license plate on a car is on the side of the road. Linking that license plate to a name and address is private information, as dictated by common sense and state legislation. So who gets access to who owns that license plate is a control set up at the beginning of the program. Typically, that's just the police department. And you see that in the normal course of business now through existing connections to various state and national registries. And it wouldn't be seen by other people within the organization. City finance department, as part of the billing, might see certain aspects of that, but those controls are set up in place. Elected officials wouldn't. Marketing department wouldn't, public information wouldn't. Those reports, those levels of access and reporting would be very, very different indeed. And if I can come back to Councillor Beebe, to one of your, I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name, I apologise. One point I forgot to jump on was one of your last question was about slide 20-something, 8, I think you mentioned. We said
24 of 80, which is, it says typical camera detection of all passing vehicles.
Yeah, so the detection system in the camera, whether it's a laser or radar, is detecting every vehicle, but it's blind. It can't take a photograph unless you're speeding or running a red light. But it counts cars, it counts speeds, can't count license plates or see them. It can't take photographs. That's what a camera does. So you end up with a device that is able to capture a lot of traffic data that's very useful for traffic engineers. You're setting your road resurfacing budget on the premise that you have 10,000 cars a day on the road. Maybe you got 15,000 cars a day being detected, but you're only issuing tickets for the 4 you actually took the photograph of. But you're able to detect and count through the radar the vehicles that were going past, but you're not taking photographs of them. That's the kind of classification information that's useful for road budgeting purposes, traffic engineers, community planning, and town planning.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions?
I do have one question. So I happen to know that in Glastonbury, they're testing this on Route 2, and there's signs that say that, they're testing it. And you had mentioned, well, people who live in the area or whatever typically get used to it. Do the signs go away completely, or is there always some kind of notification?
No, prior to any program starting, there has to be a public awareness campaign. So the community works hand in glove with its vendor to put together a large-scale local community publication effort, whether it's in printed materials or virtual materials. You'll get a lot of public announcement type days, radio work, turning up at summer festivals and Halloween festivals and those types of things to talk about the new programs coming into place. When a program starts, there has to be signage before every camera, 2 signs within 1,000 feet of a camera, essentially. So prior you going past a speed camera or red light running camera, you would have passed 2 signs, which is mandated by the state in terms of size and color and positioning. in the legislation and that those guidelines they published in 2024. You have gone past 2 of those signs. They never go away. If you want to move the camera to a different location, then you move the signs. But you cannot start a program until you put those signs up.
So
How many? Sorry.
can you move the signs and move the camera without going through that whole rest of that, like, okay, now we're moving it over here and it's testing and.
No, the state has to get approval for every location. So you can't decide after 3 months, we're just going to move the camera. You need to get another approval on another location from the state to do that.
Okay.
And for the first 30 days of any camera being operational, it's issuing what's called warning notices. So they look and feel like the citations I showed you in one of those slides, but actually no money is due. It's not a real fine. It's just reminding you the cameras went up, the signs are there, and for the first 30 days, it's sending warning notices. On day 31, that camera starts sending real tickets with a $50 fine.
Yes.
Yes, I have a question. Thank you for your presentation. My question is, are you aware of any communities that have put in the cameras and then taken them out because they didn't either find it worth it or the community was opposed to it or any of those reasons?
No, over the last almost 21 years, I've seen some communities take some cameras out, but it's more because traffic patterns changed or new rotary went into location, a new series of residential buildings were installed, and so road patterns changed. So I've seen cameras taken out for that reason, or a red light intersection was changed and a different road layout was put in. I've never seen a camera taken out because it failed to reduce speeds in that area. I will say that you rarely see one program look the same after 10 years that it did the year it went in. They evolve. And usually as a city increases in size, they may put 1 or 2 more cameras in or slightly change the function of existing cameras. But the cameras can go away, but I have not seen any examples of that myself.
Any other questions? Councillor Shea? No pressure. Okay. I just have a follow-up question. So, I mean, obviously you've heard from a couple of people tonight, both councillors, about concerns over like what type of information the camera captures and where that's stored, how that's stored, how that information could be used, right? Because obviously from a public safety standpoint, great to slow down roads, things like that. So can you explain to me again, I know you mentioned, is the only place the photos are stored locally for the town, or like does the company have access to it, and when and how is that deleted if you all have access to it?
Yeah, so the cameras, whichever vendor you would work with, offload the images as soon as the violation is taken. It's gone from the camera and is uploaded to the server system of that particular vendor, and that's where the image lives. Whether it's a server farm they have inside their own house, or whether it's a cloud-based server farm, that's up to every individual vendor, of course. But they are off the camera. If you were to go up to a camera, and not that you can get into them, but if you were able to put a USB drive and try and extract data, you wouldn't be able to extract the data. It's written in such a way of private and public keys that you cannot read the data. So they cannot be hacked locally. The images are transported in a methodology that meets international standards for data encryption and data transfer. And once the data is off the camera and the violation photographs, they'll be on the servers of the vendor themselves, not accessible by anybody.
Okay. And have you had any, or are you aware of any instances where, you know, sensitive data was hacked from these types of systems?
No.
Okay.
No.
And this might be more of a question for the town manager, and obviously we're sort of early stages, but given that we are a resident trooper town, right? Brian, have we given any thought again preliminarily, like if this were implemented, who would be the authority in Tolland that would review the photos?
Local traffic authority.
Who is
Director Lab.
Okay. I think that's all I had.
Can I ask
Oh,
one
yeah,
more
sure.
question? And just this is more you. So do they have time to do that? Because that sounds like that could be a busy time. So do you have to hire someone to
We
take
have
all
a
those pictures?
we have a local traffic authority. We don't know. That's why I want to kind of start out slow with 2 locations if we were to do this. Before we start out, we would get an idea on the data and number of tickets that we can expect based on the testing they do well in advance. And then there's other options. If it is too much,
then my designee or the troopers too as well, could do it. So, I think we could probably handle it.
But if it did become more, this revenue cannot go towards potentially paying for a person to review if it became that. I don't know that it would here, but let's just say.
There's very specific ways to spend the money. I have not taken a deep dive into that. Do you know of any other towns that have needed to hire extra staff to review?
In Connecticut?
Yes.
Not yet, but I've seen it outside of Connecticut for sure. And the Connecticut legislation allows for it to, the revenue generated by the program to pay for the costs of additional people being hired. So it's to go for, first of all, costs for the program to be operated within the community, whatever those costs are, however they're assessed. And then any residual funds can be used for transportation safety initiatives within your community. So school safety is one of those areas.
Thank you.
Is it, who generates like the bill and sends it out? Is it the town or is it the?
Typically it's the vendor. These are managed services programs, so the vendor would run the entirety of the program for you. The burden on the community is just to give that approval of the ticket going out as a civil infraction, and that's it. The vendor would should do everything else for you, including running the program, running the license plates, collecting of the funds, creating the reports and the public information materials, and sending the reports and the funding to you every 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah. I'm sorry, one more clarification. You had mentioned earlier that the DMV checks vehicle make, model, etc., but the DMV has not provided information, so individuals would not get points on their license. Was that correct?
Yeah, so the DMV is essentially interrogated as to who owns ABC 123 from the state of Connecticut or the state of Ohio, because it doesn't necessarily, you won't just have Connecticut plates going to a community. The DMV comes back and says it belongs to John Smith, 123 Main Street, and he owns a white Ford Explorer. So you've now got a database from the DMV saying white Ford Explorer, John Smith, 123 Main Street. If the photographs show a white Ford Explorer with the correct license plate, it's a vehicle make, model, match at the same time.
Follow up, do other states allow DMV to use that data for tickets?
Yeah.
For points against their license?
Yeah.
But not Connecticut?
No, sorry, for points on license, no. No, not the points on the license, but access for the data of owners of plate. Right. No, there isn't a single program in this country that assesses license plate points on your license or informs your insurance agency you got these tickets. Every program in the United States is a civil infraction program, behaving much like a moving parking ticket. I apologize, I misunderstood the question.
Thank you. I have a quick question. So are you taking photos of the cars as they're coming towards the camera or as they pass underneath it?
State legislation is different. Every state's different, whether you take it from the front, the back, or both directions. Cameras technology can do both approaching and receding vehicles. So whether the car's going towards the camera or away from it. Some legislation in some states say you only take a picture of the back. And for most practical purposes, you do just take a picture of the back of the car because not every car has a front license plate. In Connecticut, a lot of people have front license plates. You go to Ohio, no one's got a front license plate in Ohio. And so you typically take pictures of the back of the car. All you're getting is a photograph of the back of the car, a crop of the license plate. If inadvertently you capture a car coming the other way whilst you're taking a picture of the car moving away from the camera that was speeding, you can't see through the windshield of the car approaching you. And even if you could, you typically have face blocking software that allows you to redact the face of people from the other side of the vehicle.
Sorry, just another question that occurred to me. You mentioned a situation where you have somebody who's not the owner of the vehicle driving the vehicle and they're the one speeding, right? And you said it was like transferable or whatever to the individual.
Transfer liability.
Transfer liability. How does that work, right? So if my sister drives my car and she speeds to the sign and I say, okay, you can pay the ticket now, and she says no, how does that work?
The same as a parking ticket. And basically after that time's out, which is typically 30 days, it comes back to you and they say, Mr. Moran, your sister didn't accept responsibility. It's your vehicle.
Accept responsibility in Boston, it comes back to you.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? No. Okay.
I have one.
Sure.
What other towns in Connecticut do you, are you currently in or using or in the testing phase? How many towns?
5.
Okay.
How many, just to follow up on that, how many or you operate in other states as well?
Yes.
Like how big is the sort of your footprint in that? Like how many other municipalities, that kind of thing, like ballpark?
Installed almost 70 programs across the United States, typically the Midwest, up and down the eastern seaboard into Florida, and a few programs in Central America as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, one more. Is there a traffic study or anything that's done prior to implementing these, or do we like really focus on arteries and flow of traffic compared to grand list, and like what do we have for travelers, and like is there any kind of metric that we do before like we have any data, like real traffic data?
That is the bedrock. That's the genesis of the justification report. When OSTA says, well, why do you want to put a camera here? It can't be, well, we think we need one and the people think everyone's speeding. It has to be, well, show us the empirical data. Okay. So traffic analyzers are installed to capture data that may not be accessible elsewhere. When I say capture data, it's anonymized. No one's taking photographs of cars. It's about looking at vehicle statistics, vehicle speeds, and those reports are collated together and form part of the justification report to OSTA as to why you want a program in place. When any community puts a program in place, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone out there why you chose location A or location B. It's because you know this is an intersection where you have issues. You know this is a stretch of road where you always see speeding, or you see a crash every whatever it is, 4 months or something like that. I travel a road home every night. And I'm surprised I've never seen a crash there because I've seen 3 near misses every night when I drive home. So you know where the accident and the high level black spots are for your community.
That is important though. It's everything.
It's right at the beginning of the whole thing.
Be able to read it and see it and comprehend it. And we got to deliver it to the residents. So the data will be super important. That goes along with any hot areas or areas we're considering if this.
Camera locations aren't chosen by throwing a dart at a wall, and Connecticut took such a long time to put this through the State House because of we wanted to answer all those questions about the justification where the camera goes, qualified census tracts, due process, data access, and data privacy.
Does the vendor? Sorry, the more you talk, the more I think question. Does the vendor? Are they the ones who sort of put in the sensors or whatever to conduct sort of the study to determine where, like in consultation with the town, where the cameras would go? Or is that, how do we get that data right up front? Is that something that...
Most of the vendors have that ability, or they'll call in a third-party company to provide that kind of traffic analyst data.
And it wouldn't be at a cost of...
No, okay. No. That's all absorbed by the vendor themselves as part of their operating program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you coming in and answering all of our questions and presenting to us. Appreciate it.
It was nice to meet you this evening. Congratulations again on your new offices. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that brings us to agenda item 8.4, presentation and discussion of fiscal year 25 annual comprehensive financial report. Town manager.
Yep, give me one second. Okay, as required by law, we do an annual fiscal audit. As we enter budget season, this is the overall report out of the audit. With us is Leslie Zoll on Zoom. She's with our town's auditing firm, Clifton Larson or Allen, CLA. And she will be doing tonight's presentation on the town's audit for the year ending July 30th, 2025. And Yolita is here as well. Yolita, do you have anything?
No, I think you introduced very well. Congratulations, new council members. It was nice to see full house. Leslie, I don't know if you can hear us.
I can. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yes, you can. I have a presentation up and I can drive, if that's okay.
Okay, sure. I don't know if I can see it. But if you, okay, I can sort of. If you want to just skip to the agenda. So good evening. I usually like to start my agenda by just kind of sharing with you what the scope of an audit is, what we do, what we don't do. We'll present an executive summary of our audit results. I'll share with you some of the basic financial statement highlights, and then we'll go over the federal and state single audit, some required communication, and then the upcoming Government Accounting Standards Board standards that are coming to be applicable, to be implemented in fiscal year 26. So as far as our audit scope goes, management is responsible for the financial statements as they are presented to the auditors. We express an opinion on those statements to make sure that they are materially presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. We also express an in relation to opinion on the schedule of expenditures and federal awards and the schedule of state financial assistance, and that's in relation to the financial statements as a whole. We also express opinions on compliance related to major state and federal programs that we test. And there's a prescribed formula that designates what we test on a yearly basis. I think it's important to note that we do not opine on internal control as part of our audit. But we do have a responsibility to share with you any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses that we might come across as we go throughout the process of our audit, whether it's on the financial statements as a whole or on the major state and federal programs that we test. So as far as the executive summary of our audit opinions, you have received unmodified opinions on the financial statements as well as the federal and state single audits. That's what you would want to receive each and every year. So those are clean opinions all around. In terms of internal control findings or compliance issues, there's nothing to report. So Tolland had a clean audit on both the statements and the single audits. The first basic financial statement is related to government-wide statements. This particular table is shown in the management's discussion and analysis section of the ACFR. I like to show this table because it does show comparatives. The governmental activities column reports all of your funds with the exception of fiduciary funds on a full accrual basis of accounting. So that means it includes long-term assets and long-term liabilities. Your total net position at 6/30/25 was 128.6 million, and that was an increase of 4 million from the previous fiscal year. That business type activities is both your water and sewer funds combined in total. Again, on the full accrual basis of accounting, total net position is 9.2 million. That's a decrease of 76,000 from the previous fiscal year. Moving on to the next table. This is our governmental funds. Each column in this statement represents what we consider a major fund, and we opine on those separately as individual funds. So, and this is on the modified basis of accrual. So the generally accepted accounting principles are a little different for these funds as they were in the previous table. The first column is the general fund. That's always a major fund of a town. Your fund balance is 15 million. That was an increase of 530 from the previous fiscal year. CDBG Small Cities was now in 25 considered a major fund. So now it's been carved out and reported separately. And that's just due to the dollar amounts of the fund in relation to the financial statements as a whole. And total fund balance is 149,000. That's an increase of 47,000 from 24. Emergency Declaration Fund has a restricted fund balance of 510,000. That increased 61,000 from last year. Your capital projects had a fund balance of 3.2 million. That was a decrease of 2.3 million. Capital projects fund balances tend to fluctuate just based on when capital projects are dispersed and when you finally bond for those projects. And that last column, the non-major governmental funds, is a combination of all your smaller funds put together. Total fund balance for all those funds are 5.3 million, and that's a decrease of 520,000 from the previous fiscal year. Your next set of funds is internal service funds. Net position in the utility service fund, 1.3 million, that decreased 147,000 from the previous fiscal year. The second column on health insurance claims, we have a net position of 1.9, that increased 195,000 from the previous fiscal year. And then the last set of basic financial statements are your fiduciary funds. Other post-employment benefit trust fund is at 2 million. That increased 209,000 from the previous year. And then you have a small private purpose trust with a net position of 25,000 and a custodial fund, which has a net position of 179. Then I just wanted to go over a few financial statement highlights within the ACFR. This might be of interest to you, so I attached the footnote that describes the types of fund balance. You have some committed fund balance and assigned fund balance. Your unassigned fund balance in the general fund is 12.8 million. It's about 18% of your GAAP expenditures. That's a very healthy unassigned fund balance. And then on the budget side, revenues came in over budget for 297,000. You did not have to use your fund balance that you originally projected. You originally projected 783,000 of fund balance. You didn't even need that. Expenditures came in under budget at 636,000. And the net OPEB liability is at 1 million as opposed to prior year, so it's a little bit down from last year, 67% funded. I'm going to move on to the federal single audit now. Federal awards expended for the town of Tolland in 6/30/2025 was 2.7 million. And we tested the ARPA grant. There was no findings or internal controls to discuss with you tonight in regards to that program. And then on the state side, you spent 12.2 million for the year. We tested 2 programs on that side. Small time economic assistance program from OPM and Town Aid Road. Again, no findings or internal control issues to report. As far as required communications to the council, we had 3 Government Accounting Standards Board standards that we implemented for 6/30/2025. One was GASB 100 on accounting changes. That's related to the CDBG fund that's now major, that was non-major in the previous fiscal year. GASB 101 on compensated absences. That was a heavier lift for most municipalities this year, just to do the analysis in order to make sure that there wasn't additional liabilities that needed to be on the books based on the new standard. GASB 102 on certain risk disclosures did not apply, although we implemented it and made sure that there was no transactions that would require disclosure. There was no difficulties noted during the audit. As far as significant estimates, we consider the net OPEB liability as a significant estimate because it's based on actuarial assumptions. If those assumptions change, then so does that liability. But there was no disagreements with management, no uncorrected misstatements, and no independence issues between the town and CLA. If we can move on to the GASB standards, there's two standards that are going to be effective for 6/30/2026. One is GASB 103 on the reporting model improvements. Couple things to note there. The finance office will work with us to implement these standards, but 103 specifically, there's some additions to the management's discussion and analysis that will need to be done. Some presentation changes on your enterprise funds, and some changes to the presentation of your budgetary schedules. Not too much of a heavy lift, just some name changes, and some revenue recognition that's a little bit different. But it's really just financial statement presentations that will help the finance office through those. And then the next one is on GASB 104 on capital assets, just breaking out some of the different types of assets within the fixed asset, capital asset footnote, most of which we already do at CLA, so there won't be too many changes there. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you for the presentation. That was great. Questions from council? I just have two, I think. With respect to the state single audit and the federal single audit, how do you determine which programs you audit?
So it's based on a risk-based approach. So it's based on dollar values if they're over a certain dollar value, and whether or not it's a high-risk program, either designated by the federal government as a high-risk program, or if you've had prior findings in the past.
Okay, thank you. And just the last one, it sounds like it's not going to be a huge lift anyways, but Yolita, in terms of like the new GASB standards, are we prepared, or will be working with our consultant to make sure we're compliant with all that?
Yes, so we internally with my team, I already discussed these two new standards, and we can comply with what we need, and CLA has been super helpful with any questions we have.
Great, thank you. And I'll just say, to you, Yolita, and your team, obviously greatly appreciate the financial management that you all do. It's great to have an audit like this where we come back and we have no concerns or anything like that. So the testament to the work that you all put in. So thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a good night.
Can I add one more thing, Chair?
Of course.
I want you to know this was done through a transition of our finance department. Very, difficult to exchange our finance directors, and Yolita and her team got us another clean audit. We've been on a streak since I've been here anyways, and to manage that through a transition with no problems whatsoever. I just want to thank Yolita for that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also, I'll just say, thank you to you, Brian. I think other towns have struggled to fill certain vacancies, with finance directors and things of that nature. We were, more proactive. And so fortunately, we're not in a situation where we were without a finance director. I know other towns have been. So thank you for that. Okay, so that brings us to agenda 8.5, financial update for the period ending December 31st, 2025.
So each year, as we decided, I think probably 2 years ago, that we wanted to have a quarterly review of our finances for the town. And this is said quarterly review. So I hand it back over to you, Yolita.
Okay, thank you. I have also Chris, Finance Assistant Director here, so he's going to do but I will start with the finance updates. In front of you in agenda item, I just provided the report, high level revenues and expenditures. You'll consider. So any questions you have, happy to answer. At the beginning, at the end of the table, there's a high level summary of what's happening with the revenues and expenditures. And I'll just walk through it just high level again. So overall, the town remains in a strong financial position with the projected budgetary fund balance increases approximately $40,000 by the end fiscal year.
We anticipate surplus of $340,000, which allow us to reduce planned use of unassigned fund balance from $727,000 to $427,000, previously reserved for the future needs. Revenue highlights, property taxes are performing well with projected surplus of $264,000, driven by tax sale revenue and supplemental motor vehicle billing. Other major revenue categories, including state aid and service charges, are tracking close to the budget. Expenditures are projected to have to be below budget by $81,000, and that's reflected across the departments. As I mentioned, we are projecting $40,000 as of now, and we reduced our unassigned fund balance from $727,000 to $300,000. We'll see how the next quarter goes as we are driving in the snow, storms, in overtime, double time. The next quarter will show how we're going to be projecting our fiscal year. Any questions?
Questions?
Largely, are you saying that the expenses are about where they should be, but it's more revenue driven that we're the 340 to the good?
Yes.
Okay.
Other questions? Just one clarification question. And it's probably just, I don't know, the time period. So in the audit the presentation on the audit, right? I thought it said that we didn't use any of the budgeted unassigned fund balance. Is that for the prior?
FY 2025.
Okay,
Yes.
got it. That's what I thought. Thank you. And I'll just say, I do think, just for benefit, well, for my benefit, right? The summary you kind of put in there underneath the chart is always very helpful. So I just encourage anyone to take a look at that part because it does a good job of sort of pulling out the important data. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. I put it more details in each department just to understand where we at comparing to the last fiscal year as well.
Thank you.
Good. Helpful.
Yeah.
Chris, do you want to go to the?
Yep. I'll start off with the pooled investments. As of December 31st of 2025, the town's pooled investments, this is money from the general fund, special revenue funds, and other balances, total $27,828,408. And the general fund's portion of the pooled investments was $27,348,987. Our interest income for the second quarter was $279,775, and that was down 1% from the first quarter. And we have a year-to-date interest earnings of $562,433. Of course, we're still continuing to observe slightly declining interest rates. We're averaging about 3.77% in our higher yielding accounts. And our high yielding accounts is still the Connecticut STIP account and our Stone Castle account. Cash flow between pooled cash and investment funds is still going to be managed properly and consistently, of course, while adhering to the town's policy. I feel that, because of that, the $800,000 budget, the interest is still more than reasonable. I think it's achievable as long as the funds are continuing to be managed. For the total cash, the town's total cash and investment balance across all funds, everything, is $37,820,012. Now that includes the $27,828,000 from pooled investments and all the additional funds, like capital, OPEB, and all the other funds. Looking ahead, the 2026 interest earnings budget for $800,000, like I said, is still going to be reasonable. But I would caution that we're at $500,000 of interest now. Don't just double and think we're going to go over, because the cash flow for the second half doesn't really work out that way. Any questions?
Thank you. Questions? Thank you, Chris. And you guys, I'll say again, I know you kind of manage a lot of the investments and stuff that you do. I appreciate all the work that you do as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have the other each part.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
As of December 31st, 2025, the cash balance for each chip was $2,815,425. And with updates through the end of the year of 2025, including the IBNR and risk corridor requirements, our unencumbered cash is now estimated to be $1,792,299 going forward for June 30th of 26. The total cash for December 31st is $2,815,425, like I said, and our year-to-date net income through December is $324,871, and that includes the CD interest. And our consultant towards the end of the year will continue to update projections for the IBNR adjustment. Now, the cash balance at June 30th was $2,490,555. Net revenue over expenditures was $299,286. And our CD interest income was $25,585. And after deducting the policy for IBNR and the risk, deducting $1,399,166, we'll have a projected cash balance at June 30th, 26 for $1,792,299. And that brings us back to our cash balance at 12/31/25, actual cash balance of $2,815,425. And looking forward to the end of the year, the projected net income for the end of the year, June 30th of 26, will be $598,572 without the CD interest. And with the CD interest, $649,741. That was a lot of numbers.
I have a question. E-Chip is disbanding, right? I know this is sort of from Brian or Yulita. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. What happens to these funds once that process is?
I believe they're going to hire out to consult to determine exactly what is going to happen to them and where they are going to go once it is disbanded.
Okay.
There will be some significant funding coming our way, largely, I would assume, going towards the BOE.
Okay. And I assume like whatever funding we have left sort of goes to helping.
That's what we don't. Well, that's, it's going to be up to the BOE to determine. I'd love for that to be like some sort of insurance investment. I don't know if there's rules and laws. I'm sure we're going to look into all that.
Okay. Then we'll have a consultant doing that. And yep. Just keep the council updated as we.
Sure. It'll likely be, an agenda item at some point.
Yeah. Thank you.
Because as we know, we're already sniffing around Cigna and the state of Connecticut insurance policies too. So there's that end as well.
Yep. Thank you. Other questions? Thank you. Thanks both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Thank you.
So that brings us to 8.6, discussion regarding the criminal investigation involving the Beatrice Funeral Home prepaid funeral services scam and its impact on Tolland senior residents.
All right, let me first thank Kyle Sandus, Dave Corcoran, Trooper Corey Brennan, and Detective Justine Settigren for, did I say that right, Justine?
You got it.
I've known her forever as Justine. That last name's throwing me off. All right, so I thank you all for sitting through all of this tonight. So I really appreciate it. So I'm going to start out with Kyle, our Senior Center Director. There's two things on the agenda tonight that are of great interest to the town, and that's why they're on the agenda here. And these are just simply updates to as where we are, the wells and the funeral homes. So we're starting out with the funeral homes. Many of our senior residents and families were impacted when a fraud scandal was discovered and investigated, and arrests were made in which the scam was residents would go into the funeral home, residents would make a purchase for their funeral arrangements down the road. When they would get them, that money was disappeared. And many people, including my family, were on the hook for tens of thousands of dollars. And this is simply an update to the town of Tolland as to where we are with it. Kyle Sanders, our senior center director, is going to kind of bring us up this data on some of the residents and what the senior center did to help them through this process. Kyle.
Sure. So this whole scam came to our attention on May 5th when we had a couple that comes to the senior center, came and let us know that they had found out through their financials that the money was gone. Within 10 days, the town knew and the senior center was appointed point of contact. At that point, we sent out e-blasts, put it up around the senior center. Anybody who needed to come talk to us could. We answered questions. We sat with seniors and we called the Access Financial Services. From there, we asked if they had an account. If they did not have an account, then we knew the money was gone and we proceeded with them from there. If they did have an account, we asked for them to send financials to the individual so they can confirm the money based on what they had. From there, we called Troopsy, or Vernon PD was really our main point of contact, depending on what funeral home they were working with. We made copies. We sat with them through police statements, really just kind of helped guide them through a really difficult time. Since then, we've had a few people ask for follow-ups, just seeing if we knew anything, which at this point we don't know too much. And that's pretty much where we've sat. We had 15 couples or individuals come to us. We sat with them through that. Some lost everything, some lost portions, and we just really helped them through that difficult time.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. Now, so this is the funeral home right up here on 195. In Tolland here. It had been operating by the Pietrus Funeral Home for a long time. And now to give us an update on where we are with the criminal investigation is Trooper Brennan and Detective Sedegren.
Yes, so I'm the lead detective. My name's Justine Sedegren. I work for state police. I'm a detective with the Eastern District Major Crimes Unit right here at Troop C in Tolland. So my jurisdiction was all of the cases that originated from the Tolland Funeral Home specifically. So if anybody went to Tolland Funeral Home to get that pre-planned funeral sales agreement, they were considered a victim of this fraud, and I would be the investigating detective for that. If they went to Vernon Funeral Homes, I believe there were 2 in town there, then it would be the detective in Vernon, which dealt with their cases. So I ended up with a total of 31 victims that went to the location in Tolland, not all of them being Tolland residents. I had 22 actual Tolland residents that were identified as victims. We believe there are still more victims out there. These individuals won't realize they are a victim unless they check their finances, unless a family member passes away and then they go to pay for those pre-planned funeral sales agreement contracts and they see, hey, the money's not there now. So we are still actively taking cases. They're not going to be warrant cases. The way the state's attorney is now handling them at Rockville Court is they are just taking we're taking a case report, a statement, and taking your documents, whether it be your contract, your financial statements. So if you have copies of your checks, if you have copies of your credit card statements that show that you paid for that contract, that's what we're asking for. And you'll just be added to the docket that is currently listed on the website. The total amount of loss that we've identified so far, so far is $279,829.90. That's the total throughout the 31 victims.
That's just Tolland, right?
That's just Tolland. I don't have an exact number. So it was Tolland, Vernon, East Windsor, and Coventry are the towns that were affected by Petrus. And I don't have a total running number of what he has. Going through his records, we noticed that he was spending a lot of the money at casinos. That's public information. It was in the warrant. The warrant was posted on public information sites. So if you want to access that, you can also go down to Troop C. It's a press release book, and it has a copy of the warrant, which spells out, what was identified as evidence in this case. A lot of questions that I've gotten since the arrest on November 25th is, how do we find out what's happening with the case? What are the updates with our case? So what I did is I made a packet, and I'll give it to you. But basically it's a packet that walks you through how to access the judicial website, which drop-down box to go to. So you're gonna go to case lookup, and then you will input Petrus's name in the name box, and then it will bring you to all of the different dockets that Rockville Court has for him, and specifically the victims of Tolland that I dealt with for Troop C will be listed under this docket number. So I'll give you this packet. If anybody wants assistance with looking that up online, the website's on there. You can go right to that. Yep. And that's where you're going to get all the court updates or information on what's going on with the case. Courts tend to take a little bit. So at the moment, I believe it's still awaiting appeal, or awaiting, not appeal, sorry, awaiting plea. So.
All right, thanks, Justine. I want to mention that during this process, there was a shift in state's attorneys in Tolland County from Gdansky to State's Attorney Nowak, that it was a concern of ours and some of the other town managers around here that this particular case would be prosecuted. We had a meeting with State's Attorney Nowak, and imparted that, we expect and hope that this case will be taken very, very seriously. And I do have confidence with the new state's attorney that he will take it very seriously, and I'm happy to have him there. Moreover, I've known Justine here for better than 10 years. When I found out that she was taking the case, and I have some experience in this realm in a previous lifetime, I was very happy, very, very happy to know that someone as thorough and as caring as Justine was on the case. So I thank the both of you, and Corey, the troopers have been great in working with the senior center and taking the reports from our victims. So I thank you both very much. To stick around in case anyone has any questions. I'm sorry that we kept you here so late. Moving forward, the Pietrus Funeral Home, I believe, has sold to a new funeral home, and we have our development director, Dave Corcoran, here, and he's going to bring us up to date where we are with that, because currently right now we have this vacant building sitting up on 195, and no one likes to see that. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, good evening. So the moral of the story is the Carmen Funeral Home Company has purchased the building. They're a very reputable family-owned company. They've been in business in Connecticut for 75 years. They have 9 locations in the region. The building itself has some significant deferred maintenance needs, is what I've been told. So they're investing a good penny in getting the building back up to speed. They're planning to add a portico on the one side of the building. So we're working through the permitting process on that.
What's a portico, Dave?
This will be a thing for the hearse to pull under. It'll be covered.
Like most funeral homes.
Yep. When I talked with them a couple weeks ago, they're hoping to open late spring, summertime. So as they get through the permitting process and the remodeling process in the building, they're looking forward to reopening.
So as difficult as this has been on our residents, there is a bright light ahead. At least the funeral home, we believe, will be up and running shortly by a very, very reputable company. So we're happy to have at least that backup. I do not believe there'll be any recovery of funds for the victims of any significance, that's for sure. So if you guys have any questions, share.
Yeah, questions. I just have a couple. So you touched a little bit on it. I was going to ask if there was going to be any opportunity for sort of restitution for the victims, and so it sounds like maybe not. What do we know, like in terms of Petrus selling the funeral home, or Carmen getting the funeral home? Are there funds from that?
Is there any asset forfeiture or anything?
So Petrus didn't own the funeral homes. They were owned by a third party venture capital, or Vineyard Capital is the name of the company. So he purchased them, then sold them, and then leased them. So there's no revenue from that.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's too bad. That's really unfortunate. And so thank you. Actually, the only other question I had, but you provided it to Kyle, is sort of how do you go about getting more information, right? And so really appreciate all the effort and the seriousness you've taken with this investigation. It's obviously heartbreaking for residents. Actually, if somebody wanted to check if whether they were a victim, is that I hope, not waiting until a loved one passes and then they find out. Is it how should they go about doing it? Do they? I know you touched on it a little bit. Who do they contact?
So in their contract, if they signed up for a pre-planned funeral sales agreement with Petrus, it'll say Petrus Funeral Home right on the top of the contract. Down at the bottom of that contract, it will say your escrow funds will be held at Vineyard Capital or Access Financial or Internment or Trust Services.
Right.
It kind of spells it out right in the bottom. I should have brought a contract with me, but it spells it out right in the bottom. So contact them and say, do I have funds here using your name, your date of birth, and your social security number? If they tell you no, then you are a victim.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Some people don't have the contracts, correct?
Right, yes.
Uh,
Only one.
Yeah, thank you. Not me, but I'll take the heat for it. And so then that's why our senior center, we wanted them up and involved in this process to walk everyone through it as best they can. So we tried to cover all the bases on it.
Yeah, and thank you, Kyle, for all the work that you in the senior center have been doing. It's a great to have like sort of a local sort of place that residents are going to they can get some information. And I feel like I've seen sort of e-blasts and things. Are we still trying to get word out to folks in terms of like, hey, check the your contracts?
That's kind of what the sense of this meeting was for. To, that we're still paying attention to it. And that we haven't done an e-blast in a while.
Okay.
At this point,
maybe I don't know something or just however we can keep getting the word out for people to check.
All right, we'll have something put out through the senior center.
Thanks. That'd be great. Thank you. Oh, yes.
So thank you both. Thank you, actually, all three of you for coming here and for reporting and staying for the meeting. Honestly, really, really thankful that these are the kind of police services that we can count on here in our community. So hugely grateful for that. Given the nature of what you just described about the accounts, right? Go check your account, get online. Are there, and so I'm going to direct this to our senior center director. Is there like a coalition or a professional group that would recommend legislation that would protect senior or anybody, not just seniors, right? I lost my husband at the age of 36. So, because it seems to me that they shouldn't be able to draw on these funds unless there's agreement from or notification to the owners of the funds, right? The people that actually contributed the funds, they shouldn't be accessed randomly. And I'm wondering if there is an organization that represents, especially seniors, that would advocate for some type of lawmaking like that. And maybe that's a little.
So I can jump in. I was contacted by the governor's office, and the lieutenant governor is looking to spearhead, and I was asked to assist in spearheading the legislation around making sure this doesn't happen again. If that's what you're asking about.
That's what I'm asking for. Great, like anything that we can do. Yep. Personally, I find the layers of like shell companies and stuff just I mean, of course, right? Like, so that's one thing, but even if they just can't get the money unless you say yes, right?
Right.
That's a big deal. That would have prevented that. And Dante doesn't have a circle low enough for this dude.
So the money was the reason why it wasn't flagged or noticed because he was never putting the money into an account. Like, so it's not. Access Financial wouldn't be able to know to flag it because the money was never entered. By law, you have 15 days to put that. Once that person gives you a check for that contract, by law, you have 15 days to take that check from your business account and move it into that escrow account. What he failed to do was move that money, and that's what. So there is a law that's what one of his charges was, that he failed to move that money within that 15 days. Per contract, per law.
Right.
So there's nothing that would have flagged to say, hey, why didn't this get picked up? So there's really nothing in place for it to
hopefully we can get put something.
Yes, and they had a fairly simple solution for the legislation. I don't know where they are, what stage they're at. I haven't been contacted in a while for them, but
that's fine. I mean, at some point it would be great to let our citizens know.
Yep.
That there is a proposed solution so that they know it's not going to randomly happen to people. No contempt deep enough for this.
Other questions? Well, thank you again. Thank you for staying. I appreciate it. After how you doing the study, you've been, I appreciate it. Okay, so that brings us to item 8.7, discussion of contaminated wells. As Brian had mentioned, this is just another item that we wanted to have on, just sort of, there's, whatever we can just discuss publicly, right, to sort of assure residents that there's something that we're still on top of, something that we're still take very seriously. So just sort of like a general update on where things stand with that.
Thanks. And Mike Wilkinson, out of the town manager's office, has been staying on top of this throughout since before we were all here on top of this problem. So Mike, what you want to talk about where we are?
Sure. I'll kind of, talk about where we are currently and work back with questions if you want. But again, we've been working with Connecticut DOT, the Eastern Highland Health District, the Department of Public Health. We also hired a consultant, Langen, to work on these issues. Currently, the main focus right now is Connecticut Deep is administering a program to hopefully address several locations in the Vineyards area with some funding to allow those certain people who are willing to have their water softening systems replaced or upgraded along with their dry wells. So currently, Deep is working with the residents. They met with them at an open house last month. Those who are interested in moving forward with the program. There's a limited fund, so one of the options requires the funding to go, part of the funding to be used for the system, where a resident might pay for the dry well. So it would be a split cost. So they're, and from what I've heard, because Deep's really administrating it, some of the residents are going to pool together to get a better cost for the dry wells so that they can get economies of scale with that. So that's the program that they're working on right now, and hopefully that'll go forward soon. But that's the current action that's happening in the Vineyards area with the wells. There's really 5 locations in that area that really need to have the levels of sodium and chloride are above the acceptable levels. So Deep is in the town and Eastern Highlands is trying to address that with a program of, as I mentioned, trying to replace the water softening systems in multiple locations in that area. So that's what we're currently doing. If there's any questions or anything I can fill in the background, I'd be glad to answer it.
Yeah, just one thing, Mike, I'll just jump in and say, so as you mentioned, we have the $50,000 grant that Deep is administering in the Vineyards, which is fantastic. State Representative Nuccio is helping at the state level to try to secure some additional funding for the Vineyards, so an additional $100,000. And so I've sent a letter on behalf of the council to Deep. She sent a letter, I think Senator Gordon and Representative Acker were also, I think, signed on to that as well. So there's an effort to try to get an additional $100,000 in funds for the Vineyards, which would hopefully allow us to remediate most of the contaminated properties, or update their water softening system. So that is an ongoing effort to try to get that accomplished, and we have some optimism that we'll be able to get some additional funds there. Questions?
Actually, I had a question, but I think you actually answered it, because I was wondering, why wouldn't people want to be interested? But obviously there is a cost. So that would be prohibitive.
Yeah.
And then if they're picking 5 locations, is it important where those, like, can they be 5 spread out locations? Do those locations have to be together to have the most effective benefit, or how does that work?
Yeah, I'll defer to Mike. I'll just say.
Yeah, so when I say 5 locations, in the Vineyards area, we've been sampling for a while, and there's 5 locations that are actually, you would call contaminated, but there are other locations that have systems, and when you're putting this, water softening system, put these products into the ground. So someone who has a system might be their system might be getting into someone else's well. So is a wider stretch. So the goal is to replace as many as we can. Up to 15 was the goal. That would help solve the problem of the 5 that are above the levels that are acceptable for portable water. So the goal right now is, I think there's between 8 and 10 residents that are interested in the program I mentioned previously, and those are people that either have contaminated wells or don't, but are in an area of one. So that it will help the whole general area improve the water quality.
I could add, I'm also a victim of this and everything apparently, but my mother shut off her water softening system, and the property that was that had a contaminated well immediately next door and downhill to her, the water has cleared up to where they're no longer contaminated. And I shut her water softening system off within my first 2 weeks of being hired here and getting an understanding of the problem. And it cleared, her neighbor's water has cleared since.
Mike, can you just give us a quick update just for folks? So we have sort of 2 groups of homes we talk about. We talked about the vineyards, right, which we have this kind of a concentration there, and we talk about the grants that we have there. I know we've also tested sort of, we called one-off properties that aren't as maybe localized. Can you just talk about where that is testing ongoing? Where are we at with those properties?
Yeah, so so the 4 one-offs were kind of individual homes that weren't like in a group or cluster of areas where there's contamination. Buff Cap, there was one on Harvest Lane, Doyle Road, and Brian's the one Brian just mentioned, his mother's house. So again, similar to other homes, our consultant did a full workup on those homes, analyzed the data, made recommendations. We met with those residents individually and gave them the reports. It included information about suggested conclusions and remedies that might help them solve the problem. Again, some of the issues are, that some people might have is they have a very shallow well, or they have a very shallow well casing, or it's a shallow 20-foot to bedrock. So those might be contributing factors. But we met with those residents. We worked with EHD. If they have any questions about their systems or anything they can kind of get information about to help adjust their systems so that they're as well calibrated as it can be. And several of those homes have actually gone below the acceptable levels for an extended period of time. They're actually kind of off a list that we're on, so that's a good thing. That has helped as far as those 4 one-offs.
Thank you. Any questions? No, well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate the update. Obviously, it's, for the people that it's impacting, it's pretty awful, right? I mean, they have corroded pipes, they have problems with their, all of their sort of equipment in their home. And then obviously sometimes it's not always possible. So appreciate all the efforts the town is doing and anything we can do to kind of try to remediate the situation. I'm glad to hear that things with the vineyards are going as they're going. So thank you, Mike.
Sure. Thank you.
So that brings us to the appointments to vacancies on various boards and commissions, of which we have none tonight. There's also no old business to discuss. So the report of the town manager.
Given the hour, I'll try to work quickly through this and just to do a few brief things. The family that lost their house to a fire a couple weeks ago is working on getting a rental in town and a new home. The new home needs a CO. I thank my building department for trying to get that pushed through as quickly as possible so they can get in there. The family, the father had reached out to me to try to see how fast we can get them back in a home in Tolland, which is good to hear. And they're very, very, very happy with everything that the town as a whole has showed support. They did reach out to me and they took a different position than initially after the fire, that they were looking for some charitable efforts. I did, as the town, I didn't want to be the spearhead of that, but I did reach out to Reverend Gallagher next door at the United Congregational Church. And I thank Jeff so much for leading that effort for us. We do have Lori Sherwood out of the resident, our administrative secretary, the resident trooper's office. She is retiring after 12 years of service. So we wish her well. We posted today for another animal control officer in town. On another note, in our effort to get an ADA access on our town green, there was a recent decision that the town prevailed on one of the complaints, and so that'll be discussed at the next People with Disabilities Commission meeting. As you can see, and you'll probably see on your way home tonight, we're getting more snow tonight, and it's possible we'll get more over the weekend. When we talk about snow and budgets, the budget and the cost of plowing does not come into play whatsoever when deciding whether to plow the streets. We plow the streets based on safety and a discussion. If we need money, we have to get it. Thankfully, we do have some contingency. The reason why we have these contingencies, we will likely run most of it through these next couple of storms. So it's I'm sure you all noticed. You're not going to be meteorologists to see it's been a rough year storm-wise and small event-wise. Everything seems to happen on a Sunday or a holiday. We've been getting killed, and then we got another one lining up this weekend. And fingers crossed that we miss it. Okay. The one final thing, I'd heard just on rumor that there was going to be some controversy with the NERAC building and what's happening with the NERAC building here in town. Then I heard today that the state of Connecticut, and forgive me if I get any of these details wrong. This is fresh as of today, but we're fairly confident in what I'm saying is that the state of Connecticut is going to purchase said land and put a secure juvenile, for lack of a better term, housing facility for currently incarcerated juveniles. It'll be a 20-bed facility from ages 13 to 18-year-olds. Will be housed there. It's on 195 where the NERAC property. The program is called the Regions Program. I have seen some state documents for it. Our town planner searched the state of Connecticut records for properties being purchased. There was an executive session that's just listed, doesn't give an address for the town of purchase of property in the town of Tolland. Invited into that meeting were Mark Riesbeck, who's a realtor in town, who was previously selling 303 Merrill Road, and Kevin Vooley, the owner, were both invited into that executive session. So we don't have any documents out of that. But all indications after speaking with our state representative is that the state of Connecticut Judicial is buying said property, going to put in there a juvenile housing program for incarcerated juveniles. As a resident, I certainly have an opinion. I won't give it. As a town manager, I have to look at what's best for the town, and I turn to you for that to provide me that direction. If you'd like, I can look to our town attorney for advice on what we should do. In the meantime, I've already asked for an economic impact study from our Economic Development Commission as to the impact that this, for lack of a better term, detention facility will have on surrounding residents, surrounding businesses. This is not in some distal location. It is right through the main business artery of our town, and a big property at that. While we're there, I asked Jason Lawrence, our property tax assessor, to give us an impact of what this will have on our property tax. As the state is exempt, we could possibly get a pilot to recoup some of those losses. Also, there'll be quite a build out to make it a 20-bed facility. That build out, the state is exempt from paying for permits. I'm asking for a cost estimate on that. Looking at the area as a whole, and again, I turn to council, but in the immediate area are two daycares and a grammar school or elementary school. Who will be housed at the facility? Currently, as it was described to me, currently incarcerated juveniles aged 13 to 18. After speaking with our Human Services Division today, they know of no Tolland residents in that age group that are currently incarcerated, nor do they know of any that have been since any of us have been here. So I don't imagine that there'll be Tolland residents housed at that facility. So I'm merely looking to council for direction. If you'd like me to reach out to our town attorney and see what he recommends what we do to move forward if we want to fight this in any way. I can only imagine, as I'm sure all of you, that there will be quite a bit of consternation over this potential build out here. So I leave it to you, Council.
Sure. And I'll just say, so in my professional capacity, I work for the state judicial branch. I haven't worked on this at all, but for purposes of like discussion during votes here, like I'm going to recuse myself. So I have Vice Chair Visa sort of take the lead on that. So however you all want to proceed on that, as far as direction to the town manager, absolutely. But I'm not going to participate.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so let's, who wants to pipe in here? Any comments?
Get me when you're done.
Yes.
I'd prefer that we put this on an agenda because I think this can be a very extended conversation.
I want to as well. And I think that's the appropriate thing to do. Prior to doing that, though, I'd want to get the town attorney to come to that. So I'm asking you, do you want to enact that?
So
I don't think we spend any.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
I'm sorry. I don't think we should spend any time on it tonight. I think it should become an agenda item, and we get the town attorney involved and start moving forward from there.
Concur. Let me know.
So I would like to know when you talked about incarcerated, are we talking about? So it's 20 bed. They talked about like a regional. I'm sorry. What did you call the program? The Regions program.
It's called the Regions Program, and you can Google it if you look at State of Connecticut Department of Corrections.
So is this what if I were to compare it to minimum, maximum, super maximum? Like, is there a comparison there?
I don't know that, and we're trying. We are also doing research. There's other region programs. There's one down in Hampton. We're trying to figure out what has been the crime impact. What are the runaways like?
Okay,
or any escapes?
So we could get that.
It would be secure. I'm told it would be a secure facility. But I also know from my career, and you probably all know as well, that it's pretty difficult as a juvenile to get incarcerated, and that you have to have a significant type of record to do that. And so, if they're already previously incarcerated, I'm going to guess they are children with needs. And this place would provide said needs.
Right, and so I'm looking for that some additional information on that so we can understand. Like,
so are we?
Is it right? Is this?
And so let me bring you to another point.
Right.
Nobody from the state has reached out to us. No one from judicial. No one from anybody. We found this out by luck, and by rumor, and by today Dave going through the state. No one's reached out to us. No one. This is the state rep heard about it through a budget process. Reached out to me. Dave Corcoran dug it up out of land acquisition. Now, prior to that, we had heard rumor that something was going in there that no one was going to like, but that was it. And so today we had actually come upon this information. I wanted to impart that to council as soon as possible.
Okay. Brett, Councilor Wells.
Does the state currently own? Have they already purchased?
There is a purchase and sale agreement in place. It has not
been executed yet.
Yes.
So we're at that point where they have a purchase agreement in place, but it hasn't been executed or finalized.
Correct.
So that's where we're at currently. Okay, thank you.
So can I have a motion to allow our town manager to engage legal to continue to?
I don't know if you even need a motion. I think you just tell me.
Okay. Are we?
And then I'll put it on. I'll have Sarah Beth get it on an agenda item in the near future.
To Joe's point and Mayor Lee's point, I'm sure everybody is that there's so much to unpack here. Right? There's so much, Brian, so much we could ad nauseum could replicate this entire meeting.
I'm at day one with no official documentation.
So many questions you can't answer tonight.
Correct.
Right? So I agree. I think at this point we should just move to incorporate this into an agenda item.
Concur. Thank you.
With the town attorney present, so we can get some legal opinions and have really dive into this.
There exists the possibility that the town attorney would likely recommend a attorney from a different firm that has a bit more expertise in that. I'm fairly confident that will happen.
we'll engage that.
We have to engage it as we get counsel, right?
Yeah.
We'll follow the counsel from legal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your answer there.
You went home. Yeah, again, this is reliable information, but not confirmed.
Right. Okay.
Thank you, Bernie.
You're welcome. And that ends my town manager report.
It's gonna be brief and then you any questions outside of what you just discussed about other things, town manager report? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 11, adoption of minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the January 27th special meeting minutes and the January 27th regular meeting minutes. So moved. Moved by Councilor Wells. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Bissaw. Any discussion? Councilor Beatty.
Aye.
Councilor Wells.
Aye.
Councilor Jackson. Councilor Gerbert.
Abstain?
That's fine. Councilor Bissaw.
Aye.
Councilor Shea.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. So that passes with Councilor Gerbert abstaining. Correspondence to council. Many thanks, as always, to Sarah Beth for keeping me on top of things. Since our last meeting on January 27th, as of 3:30 today, council has received 17 letters from residents on the topic of the current council vacancies / charter. And that's all I've got as of 3:30 today. For the chairperson's report, all I'll say is just, obviously our thoughts are with the family from the devastating fire in town. That's heartbreaking. Incredibly grateful to the Tolland Fire Department for all that they did, responding to that scene, all that they do always for those incidents. Those are traumatic for the families, obviously, but obviously it takes a toll, I'm sure, on our firefighters as well.
And they are moving into the rebuild stage as well. So not just jumping into a rental, but they also are moving into the rebuilding department, and the fire marshal are going to help them through
On-site?
with everything.
On-site?
Yeah.
And can you remind me, I know you mentioned it, but if people want to contribute or help, was it Reverend Gallagher?
Yes, United Congregational Church, Reverend Gallagher, reach out to them.
Okay, awesome. The last thing, I just want to thank Department of Public Works for their continued efforts to keep our streets clean, plowed. As you mentioned, it's been a brutal winter. Hopefully we'll get to the end of it without too much more snow. So thank you for that. So that brings us to communications and petitions for council persons. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say?
There was and this may be premature, but there was a letter that was sent in after 3:30 concerning the topic that we, I think, addressed at the last council, maybe 2 council meetings ago, which was the request for like a compassionate exception. And I think that you had reported that town manager had contacted the town attorney, and because the statute is linked to the state statute, he had indicated that there was an issue with trying to approve that.
And then the next letter said, we can still do it anyways. Right? Is that what
Okay,
you're
I
talking
didn't
about?
see that. Okay,
Well, I know Tammy had sent something along saying.
Oh, it keeps.
yeah. So if we could get the compiled written correspondence on that so that we
Yeah, sure.
get a determination here.
Our tax assessor and attorney are steadfast in that we can't do it even after seeing it.
Okay. So just to be clear, so even with all of the information that the town has received, our town attorney is still advising that we cannot legally do anything. Right?
And I went to the town attorney and said, please find a way for us to do that. Yeah. And there's
okay. I
his mind and Jason's concur. Yeah. No.
Okay. So legally we're in the same spot in terms of.
Okay. Because I think we need to provide a cogent response.
Agreed.
With the background, right?
His hand was just up. I don't know if he went away.
The background with
That's not his hand.
Jason.
That's the mouse hand.
Yeah, it's okay. Why don't we? We'll
just with the town attorney.
Yep.
Is that Jason Lawrence? You want to hear from him?
Sure.
Or is it just public correspondence? So we don't want to.
No, I mean, look, like if Jason wants to provide an update, right? Just give me the hour. That's fine.
Yeah.
Jason,
can you ask to unmute?
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Jason.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. what we found out was, and Attorney Conti verified this before, which was the applicant has to own the property as of October 1st. Connecticut General Statute 12-85, I believe, says that. And aside from that, Mr. Bradshaw does meet the other qualifications. It's just the fact that he didn't own the property as of that date. There's nothing that says that we can make any adjustment outside of that if he doesn't own the property. If he had owned the property and filed his DD 214, which is his veterans retirement papers, then we could go back and make the correction. However, without owning the property, that's the first test that we look at to make sure that they meet the qualifications, and he didn't. So all of our other exemptions, are tied to that assessment date. If you don't own it as of the date, you can't.
Has there been any communication from the town with this resident or no? Okay. I just thought of this today actually. So I'll bring this up again as like something that we can talk about in the next council meeting. But
I just don't want it to drop. I don't want it to just fall.
So, and I'll just say, I'm sure I speak for probably most of us that, if there was any way that we could help, right? Like certainly I want to help disabled veterans. Obviously we're constrained by what we're legally allowed to do. So appreciate that update. And let's just mark that down as something that maybe just to put in bold business for us to.
Well, I'll get you everything, the documentation, what Jason said, he wrote out in much greater detail, and I have Attorney Conti's. You may have already gotten that.
Yeah.
And I'll send it to you.
Yeah. But could we just put it on old business just so we can close the loop on, we should send some correspondence to the resident.
Okay.
We could talk about that offline, but we'll just close the loop on that in the meetings.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other communications we have? Yes.
I just want to say a couple of things. So, it has certainly been an interesting 2 weeks. I want to thank Councilors Moran and Beebe and Wells for your continued support. I want to thank Councilor Shea and Councilor Esau for your willingness to give me a shot. Thank you. But I also wanted to acknowledge last meeting's no vote because which prompted many conversations with people in town, some that I've never even met. So I really wanted to thank them for their encouragement, and I'm extremely grateful for their trust in me. I also wanted to address the statement made last meeting regarding my ability to work effectively with members from a different political party. That assertion is incorrect. Throughout my professional career as a public servant, I have worked collaboratively with elected officials and partners across political parties, levels of government, nonprofit organizations, and the private sector. Much of that work took place in high-pressure environments where cooperation is not optional. That's regarding emergency preparedness, response, and recovery efforts. Those efforts were successful because they were grounded in mutual respect and shared public responsibility. The same approach has guided my volunteer work in this community, working with people from different perspectives. We have raised tens of thousands of dollars in support of our schools and our greater community. Focus not on politics, but on results and shared priorities. Disagreement on policy is inevitable on any governing body, and it can even be healthy. But disagreement should not be confused with an inability or unwillingness to collaborate. Nor should complex decisions be framed as wins or losses along party lines. Our responsibility is to make thoughtful, sometimes imperfect, probably lots of times imperfect decisions in the service of our community. As I begin my service as an appointed member of the town council, I do so with confidence that my record and clear commitment to work constructively with every councilor. Our neighbors expect leadership grounded in purpose, respect, and accountability. I'm prepared to meet that expectation and do the work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other communications, additions, or council questions? Real quick. Sure.
First of all, I just want to thank the town manager and all the town employees for all that they do for the community with the weather, the roads, We've had a couple tragic events, so public safety's been huge. But the residents, this is what makes town so special, is in a time of tragedy, whether it's COVID, whether it's house fires, whether it's whatever the situation is, the community rises above. We talked about church organizations. We have nonprofits in town, Tolland Cares. All those guys are awesome. Those ladies and men, and even children that are involved in that. So just for everybody in the town, one, stay safe. Two, thank you for everybody for the lift, because, in times of tragedy, you seem to rise up. So thanks.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, so that brings us to item 15, public listed participation on any subject within the jurisdiction of the council. This second portion has a 2-minute limit, and just a reminder, if you could, just provide your name and address when you come forward, that would be much appreciated. Yes.
I'm Monique Mead, 31 Servants Road, Top, Connecticut. First of all, I'd like to say congratulations to our new appointed members. Welcome. I hope you're willing to work hard for all of us. Thank you to all of you for your comments and questions about the traffic cameras. It is a large concern of mine, considering the gentleman seemed a little dismissive of the questions that Councilor Beebe was asking when it was due to the indemnification of these people when there is a security breach. It is a high concern of mine, what they are actually doing with that data, where it is going, and how many people have access to it, like you were asking. Who's going to be seeing it, even in our town, who's going to be seeing it, but not just our town, their vendor, their server, who's protecting me in that situation? Because I may never drive past one. I barely leave my house other than going to Big Y. So the chances of me running through it is slim to none. But if I lend my sister my car, that becomes my responsibility. Whether she pays it or not, it's my fault because it was my vehicle, so it is my responsibility. That doesn't seem all that great to me, honestly, because, well, hey, we're sisters, we fight. We do not necessarily always get along, and what if she decides not to pay it on purpose? You know what I'm saying, right? It's just a matter of principle on that portion of it, and I would really like you guys to reconsider having these traffic cameras. I would rather there be some other method of, I don't even know what other method could be used to help slow down these incidents of road, speeding and accidents that have caused tragedy. But at the same time, I don't want to lose my liberty and have my data out there because of a breach and not be indemnified at the end of it either. So thank you all for your questions. Please be very careful before you make decisions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I'll go online. JP?
Radio check?
Yep, we can hear you.
Roger that. So I'll save my comments on the camera issue for when I have more than 2 minutes.
Can you just provide your name and address? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. JP Olenek, 807 Old Stafford Road.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'll save my comments on the cameras for when I have more than 2 minutes, because I share some of Monique's concerns. But I just want to say, I know counselors, Shea and Bassan and Beebe well enough to consider you, frankly, all as friends, and I'm acquainted with several others of you. And I want to thank you all and frankly honor you for your willingness to contribute your precious time and effort and energy, both cognitive and emotional, to serving our town and her residents. And I firmly believe that no matter the potential differences of opinion on specific issues, each and every one of you are serving our town in good faith and trying to do what you believe to be in our town's best interest. And I will admit I've been troubled by a number of things I've seen recently in the social media discourse, and I bite my tongue, but some of this stuff does not always appear to be consistent with people making good faith assumptions about our fellow residents and town representatives. And I want to echo Councilor Shea's comments that the desire to execute a process with appropriate due diligence does not and absolutely should not be taken to reflect negatively on the individuals involved. I think it's we have responsibility to the process, and that's distinct from any individual stuff, right? So I want to congratulate our newest counselors on their appointments, and I have the greatest expectations for all of you moving forward. I haven't met you personally, and I look forward to that. And I'll just say that for tonight, I am really encouraged by the election of Councilor Basaw as co-chair. And so I really hope this helps set a good collaborative tone moving forward. And I just really hope, I encourage everyone in our town to check potential initial emotional reactions online to the disputes that will inevitably arise in the next coming weeks, and just make the intentional efforts to engage with each other on the real issues we're going to face and the underlying principles involved, and keep in mind that we all care about our town.
Sorry, JP, just if you could just wrap it up, I'd appreciate the time.
Yeah, 2 minutes. 2 minutes goes fast. I hear you. So anyway, my congratulations to the new board. I look forward to working with all of you in this budget season, and Godspeed to all of you on our efforts on this town's behalf. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll go back to the room. Yes.
Catherine Henriksen, 192 Goose Lane. I'm really pleased that the vacancies have been resolved in this very collegial and cooperative way, and I look forward to you working together on the shared public responsibilities, as Councillor DeBerrick said. The other reason I stayed around is I live on Goose Lane, and last time you were talking about that intersection at Goose and Anderson. I go through there several times a day, and I've lived there since 1999, so thousands of transits of that intersection, and it is a dangerous spot. So I agree with much of what was said, that putting a stop sign on that uphill where there currently isn't one would be a really bad idea, because you just can't get going again in slippery conditions. The one thing I would ask if you would consider putting those lights around the stop signs. I know that probably costs more than just painting on the pavement, but that I've seen that. I think it's on Grand Hill Road. There's 1 or 2 stop signs like that, and that would really help. A good friend of ours had his car T-boned at that intersection just a few months ago. The car was totaled. He was fortunately okay, but he was on the path that doesn't have a stop sign, and somebody came at full speed through a stop sign. And I just think if there were those lights there, a person like that might have stopped. That's a danger not just to property, it's a danger to people's physical well-being. Thank you.
Thank you. I will go back online, back at M.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Beckett Murray, 8 Lisa Lane. I first want to congratulate Councilor Jackson and Councilor DeBerrick on their appointment. And the next thing I want to talk about is the fact that earlier when I went up to speak, there was a person that questioned being able to talk under 18, and I think that I'm proud of this town having rules that allow anyone to speak if they're a resident in town, because everyone's voice is important. Another thing is with the traffic cameras, I worry about the fact that data breaches can happen. It's not too uncommon with that. And I also worry about the general trend of everything in life getting more surveillance-esque, like everywhere you go, there's a camera watching you, and that data where it goes is scary, and I worry about data breaches. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I will go back to the room. Yes.
Heather McCann, 62 Carson Drive. I just wanted to say congratulations to Shane and Mary Rose, and also to Ms. Visa for the new appointment as vice chair. Very excited about this group. Couple of things. One, in lieu of the cameras, is it possible to add speed bumps maybe instead of these cameras into consideration, and unless we're worried about cars launching? But I think those are really effective. Anybody that has a high schooler or has driven up that driveway knows that you have to slow down, right? So I recommend maybe putting that into the consideration. And I also wanted to invite any of those who did not see that last town council meeting where there was a no vote, just before anybody has an opinion about it, to just review how it all went, because it's very enlightening. That being said, onward and upward, right? So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll just note, we don't have to get into it now. I know with at least on like state roads and stuff like that, we would have to, the state, I think, ultimately has say over like 195 about whether we could like put a speed bump in or things like that. But certainly it's something that should be in the discussion. So yeah, I'll go back online. I'm just like, go back in.
Claudette.
Oh, I'm sorry, Claudette.
Good evening. It's Claudette Morehouse, 89 Merlot Way, Tolland. I just wanted to make a couple comments. The last meeting, I had made a comment regarding something that had upset me. A meeting a couple years ago by Mary Rose Barrick regarding dismissing of the contaminated wells. We spoke, and she understands, per the minutes I sent her, and it was on a video, why I took that comment the way I did. She understands, and then she explained to me how it was actually meant. We're good. It's all cleared up. And that's just, how conversations should go. Mary Lee, to her comment, she beat me to it. We did meet at the bank, and we had a conversation. And we don't agree politically, and I can respect that. What we do agree on are the people that send those hate mails. Those people are scum and they're cowards. So we do agree, and it was a conversation that it was needed. I did work on a board with Mary Lee. I respect her knowledge. She mentored me, taught me a lot on zoning board of appeals, and I wouldn't mind working with her again at some point. Chris, to your statement regarding disagreements are inevitable, and you would hope that moving forward would be respectful. I wish that was the case 2 weeks ago. There was a disagreement. It was not what people are saying. Charter was followed. They just had a request of having 2 people so that we know what we're voting for. I don't think that was unreasonable. And to say moving forward that disagreements are inevitable, I hope that keeping it respectful is on the table now. And I am sorry for Rini and Joe that had to put up with the untruth comments that were made over the last 2 weeks.
Thank you, Claudette.
Thank you.
I'll go back to the room.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was just staying out of respect for all of you. Lorianne Nelson, 206 Anderson Road, but this woman just reminded me, I live on Anderson Road, and I did watch the video 2 weeks ago of this meeting. And Yeah, that's a huge concern. I mean, my family grew up there, and in the 60 years that our house has been there, we can no longer really get out safely. It's like we're kind of landlocked. But each exit, so I've got like so many ideas. When you drive it constantly, you go, well, if they did this, this would work. Who do we give that? Who do we talk to? I had written to the Department of Transportation and Town Council about a year ago about the Goose Lane when the gas station was going to go in. And Department of Transportation referred me to you, and this referred me to them. So the Goose Lane Anderson, yeah, we never had problems with that before. So I don't know if Tolland can have troopers sit and snag people. I mean, is that, I moved back to Tolland from San Francisco. They're everywhere. And if I get stopped because I'm speeding, so be it. I mean, I deserve it. But I would rather that than constantly pulling out and the person coming down Goose totally runs that stop sign, just flies. And I now think I just can't get out anymore. So I agree. Lights or something. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, please, keep reaching out to the town council or whatever. We'll make sure that, concerns like that, we'll try to, address them best we can. We have our local traffic authority. And so we're definitely trying to find ways to increase traffic safety, right? Because that's definitely been a real concern lately. So thank you for sharing that. I'll go back online. I'm assuming JP, if you're the same JP from earlier, I'll ask you to save that comment till the next meeting, just in the interest of time and since you used up your 2 minutes, I apologize about that. Is there anybody else online who would like to comment? I'll go back to the room. George.
Isn't it amazing you know my name? Okay, George Ulrich, Fishing Game Road. I'm part of the opposing viewpoint. I love the idea of cameras. I think we should have it all with stoplights and speed cameras. If people behave themselves, it's never a problem. You can go 10 miles an hour over and get away with it. If you got to drive 45 where it's 35, you deserve it. Same thing with red lights. It used to be people used to stop. Nobody stops anymore except for me because it's neither here nor there. But so I would like to see them also at the stoplights because years ago the state changed all the lights, so there's a 3-second delay. Then everybody realized the delay, so now they just do 2 or 3 more. Many times I've had people jam on their brakes because the lights turning yellow on it, and I stop. And 2 cars behind me are trying to, I've had 1, 2 just pass me after it was already red. So I think, and look at it this way, we could lower our taxes. Let the people that can't behave themselves, and we could build a new school. We could, we could do more. So anyways, my opinion of cameras, 100%.
Thank you, George.
Behave yourself.
Go back online. Again, just JP, I'll just if you could save that till our next meeting or write it to us, I appreciate that. I'll go back to the room one final time. And I will go back online one final time. Seeing nobody else, I will close public participation. And without objection, we will adjourn at 10:18. Thank you for everyone.